Kia ora e hoa ma. Hello, my friends, and welcome to Auckland, New Zealand, the stage for the 36th America's Cup. It's day 3 of the PRADA Cup Challenger Series, and another point-scoring opportunity awaits the teams this afternoon. Yesterday, light air conditions. Today, the wind hits the upper limits, and that could be the magic that Terry Hutchinson and his crew need in search of their very first win. It's Rossa pulling double duty today, and in the words of Francesco Bruni, it's a Super Sunday and the chance to collect 2 points. And oh, how valuable they are. The team with the most points at the end of the round-robin phase goes directly to the PRADA Cup final. INEOS Team UK, with 3 from 3, will be eyeing that automatic spot. But Rossa are coming. American Magic just need to break the shackles and score. 4 races down in the round-robin series, 8 to go, and you can guarantee that today in stronger wind, the teams are going to learn something else about themselves and their boats. Both winners from yesterday are first to race today. INEOS will relish the predicted heavier conditions, and then American Magic are back into the fray in the race that will complete round robin number 2. Your commentary team is in place. Shirley Robertson and Chase Boat 1 beside me, our falling master Nathan Outteridge and multiple world champion, round-the-world racer, America's Cup helmsman Kenny Reid. Now, Kenny, the developing story in the PRADA Cup, as we saw them yesterday, the struggles of American Magic.
Well, there's no question that American Magic was considered a pre-race favorite, and that was based off of the Christmas events. But we have seen some real struggles in light air especially. And yesterday, Terry Hutchinson said that they didn't build this boat for the shifty conditions of that stadium course. But Nathan, they got to figure something out, and their foils look like they're maybe not adaptable to the lighter air.
Now you can see here, shot of the 3 Challenger foils. American Magic's foil on the left is much smaller than Rossa and INEOS's foils. Look at the sizes here. It's significantly smaller. Smaller means it'll go faster, but has less lift. So in the lighter breeze, they're going to struggle for takeoff.
And then there is another element. That's the human element, and also tactics.
Well, there's also no question that American Magic does it a little differently again. Terry Hutchinson is the tactician, but he's also grinding full-time. Some of the other boats are doing it differently. He's got a job, though, a full-time job. Is he able to really look around and see the water the way he wants to see the water? Versus, of course, Giles Scott. Giles Scott is wide open. He's freed up. He's able to communicate maybe a little bit more with Ben Ainsley. Could that be an advantage?
We shall certainly find out, because next up it will be INEOS Team UK against Rossa PRADA Pirelli. The one thing we know about Ben Ainsley, Nathan, he's aggressive in the pre-starts.
He's very aggressive in the pre-starts, and he's bossed every start so far to date. If you win the start, it makes your life so much easier. This other team, Jimmy Spittle, Francesco Bruni, they are also a tough challenger, and they've been doing very well in the starts themselves.
So we have what promises to be an intriguing start, because we don't know how good Rossa PRADA Pirelli are in heavier conditions.
Well, Nathan just showed us they got big foils. They should not be as good in a breeze, but you know what? That's what they race them for.
INEOS Team UK, we keep hearing that they are good in heavier conditions. But do we know that?
Well, we don't know that. They seem to be good in heavy conditions, but man, they were fast in the light air too. It seems unlikely you can be fast in all the wind ranges. So I'm super interested for this race, because we've got 2 teams here that we don't really know what's going to happen.
Port entry in our opening race today is with the challenger of record.
Rossa PRADA Pirelli has in many ways been the most consistent performer for the 3 weeks of racing. A steady crew rotation, no big or at least obvious changes to how they sail their boat, and they've been in the game in every race so far, albeit only one. But today is their day to make a statement. A long 4 days off until we race again, it would be a shot across the bow to their competition with a couple of wins today. But are they too far away from their light air comfort zone? The aggressive driving of Jimmy Spithill and Francesco Bruni lead the Italian entry into Super Sunday.
I think both Jimmy and Keiko showed up. They're not afraid of aggression on the pre-start, and I think they always did a beautiful job, and they've been aggressive when they needed to, and they decided the start they want to do, and most of the time we got it. So I don't think Luna Rossa is afraid of any other opponents out there on the pre-start especially.
3 from 3 so far. Can the roll continue for the British Challenge?
INEOS Team UK have been on fire the last couple of days. The team has managed to turn around what was looking to be a disappointing campaign into becoming the leader of the pack. They are currently the only challenger to be undefeated, and I bet they want to keep this momentum going. Yesterday they sailed well in the light, shifty winds. Today the breeze is up. It's going to be more about boat speed race. Now it's time to find out if they have the pace and control in the strong breeze.
One race today against PRADA. What can we expect from that head-to-head?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's a bit of a different day today, sort of 15 to 20 knots maybe. So different conditions to what we had when we raced the Italians before. I think it's going to be a tight one, and just looking forward to a close battle.
Day 3 of the PRADA Cup is being raced on a course A in the Hauraki Gulf, away from that shifty conditions that we've seen in the stadium course the last 2 days. Today's more about heavy air speed and agility, and after a 2-minute start sequence where the boats jockey for control of their opponent, the yachts will sail into and away from the wind on a windward-lured 3-lap race course. Leg lengths of 2 miles and only a half a mile wide. At the speeds we'll see on this course today, the shape and size of the race course is going to feel really small to these sailors.
So let's go onto the water. Shirley Robertson and Chase Boat 1. How wild is it?
Stephen, if you've set your alarm clock to get up and watch this back in Europe, you're not going to be disappointed. The day is setting up to be action-packed. The wind is currently only averaging 16 knots, but there's big rain clouds dropping big gusts. And on the west coast of the North Island, there's a ton more breeze, and it's coming our way. On top of that is bumpy wind against tide. In an AC75, it's probably as full-on as it gets. And remember, Luna Rossa's Bruni said yesterday, if you're facing up against Ainsley, the start is vital. So buckle up, everyone. We're expecting high-speed fireworks.
So it is on. Round robin 2, race number 2, challenger of record against INEOS Team UK. Currently the form boat in this PRADA Cup Challenger Series on day number 3. And the cameras that we have on board all over the place, along with our microphones, showing you, just like that shot, how crazy this weather is today. Man, I'm excited.
Bring it on. This is that gear busting kind of. You kind of have a feeling when you leave the dock on a day like today that it's going to be a little bit different. You got to hold on, Nathan. This is something that you can't break the boat, but at the same time, nobody's going to let you back off, because if you do, you're going to lose.
Yeah, it's definitely rough out there today, isn't it? Check out the waves, and these boats, you know, most of these teams have been always sailing in the flat water. You know, they probably would have been expecting to be in the back paddock or in the harbour in conditions like this, but they're out there in the roughest part of the harbour today.
So are you surprised they went to this race course?
I'm a little shocked that we're out here. I don't think many of the teams were thinking they were going to have to sail in these conditions and these kind of waves. I reckon they thought they'd be in flatter, more protected conditions, but going to be a good test for the structure of these boats, isn't it?
Let's be blunt, though. Either of you would love the chance to be on a wheel out there today, wouldn't you? Come on.
Of course, but at the same time, this is kind of comfy sitting here with you, you know, second-guessing everything that's going on out there. There's nothing wrong with that.
Just under 3.5 minutes to race start, and race number 2 of round robin number 2 will complete, hopefully, this round robin stage today. We have heard from race management there's a big shift coming, and potentially that could they. Way, how about that? That gives you an idea of what the conditions are like. Francesco Bruni getting his early shower. Can you imagine what it's going to be like when these boats are up and falling at speed? We know, and we've been blessed to be shown pictures prior to you seeing these ones getting close to 50 knots and getting themselves into gear.
Well, they'll be pushing the boats hard, but it's so bumpy that you can't push these boats too hard. And you know, Ken made a good point. You know, to finish first, you've got to first finish, right? You've got to make sure you get this boat around the course, keep it upright. And I think it's going to be a game of managing the throttle, going fast when you know you've got control, and then backing it off when it's time to, you know, keep it under control.
Luna Rossa have port entry on this race, race number 2, and it'll be starboard entry for INEOS Team UK. The exciting part of this, that boat in front of you, what are they going to be like in these wild conditions?
It just looks marginal, doesn't it? I mean, it just feels marginal.
The 2 minutes and 10 seconds they are allowed in on the port entry and income at pace, and real pace for the first time. And this is Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli. And then from the 2 minute mark, income on the starboard entry is INEOS Team UK. There is a lot of work going on out there.
There are a lot of questions today for both of these boats. INEOS was notoriously a heavy air boat in the past, but their light air performance the last couple days means maybe they've changed. And on the other hand, we've always thought the Italians struggled in a breeze. Let's see them prove otherwise today.
Rounding up. Your wheel. Watch the bow. Yeah, got it. Okay, 2 more turn up. Don't come too far up. Very negative. Got it. Negative 6.
Survivor away.
Okay.
2, 1, bearing away.
Got it.
We're on board both boats, listening in to whatever the strategies might be, with only about a minute to go before the start.
Away.
Stand by drive.
Okay. Main on the board. Yep.
Got it.
Coming down the left board here.
Here's a decision for Ainsley right now. Will he tack before, or does he think they're early and push them from behind and tack out? Looks like he's going to be a pusher this time.
Got him killing 15. Speed. Board up. By tack. Yep. By pitch. Crossing. Board down. Turning. Yep. Okay, going board. Okay.
This is the umpires. Boundary penalty, GBR. Boundary penalty, GBR.
That's an unforced error. Out of bounds in the pre-start. You can see that Whitewater just went out of bounds. That's handing the rate to start to your competitor, isn't it?
Coming away. Yeah. That's course.
So unforced error by INEOS Team UK in the pre-start area. Boundary penalty. 10 seconds to go to the start.
Keep going, guys. Yeah, that's it there. Okay, stand by for a big main on, boys. Okay, I've got it here, Ben. Main on, my wheel. Your wheel. Main on. On the wind. Yeah, coming. And again, here we go. All the way.
It's on. Round robin 2, race number 2. Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli, INEOS Team UK, away in some of the most challenging conditions we have seen to date.
That penalty gets cleared by them being 2 boat lengths behind right off the starting line. So INEOS is back in the game, but man, what an unforced error. Not a great way to start this race.
1, 2, 1, 2. You guys can hear me?
Yes. Yeah, got you now.
I'm on the Jimmy, they're right behind us.
Let's focus. Yep.
I'm surprised he's staying on his hip there for so long. I would have thought Ben Ainsley would have looked to tack to get out of this position. He's only getting further behind in the dirty air of Luna Rossa there.
But I'll tell you what, there's a lot more chatter aboard the Italian boat right now. There's
stand by tack.
I can't say what the phrase is right now, but it is marginal out there. Let's put it that way.
And Kenny, they're only going upwind at the moment. Wait till they get to the top mark and have to turn these boats downwind and punch through these waves. But what we're experiencing right now, what we get to view is it's a boat speed race. We're trying to see who's the fastest boat in these conditions. Shirley, on the water, how is it out there? Nice and bumpy for you?
Yeah, I'm trying not to look at the monitor too much. It's really bumpy. Nathan, I wonder if Ben Ainsley is sort of protecting the left a little bit. The forecast is for the breeze to go left. And when I've noticed the puffs dropping, they're left-hand puffs. So, you know, you wouldn't want to get to the right-hand side. He wants to keep it nice and tight and nice and close.
Yeah, back in here now.
Yeah.
Copy.
Outdoor 75.
Happy
to come up too. Nothing too big on the race course. I think boundary to boundary at the moment.
The section for the right coming there.
What feels good? Little bit lighter here.
Crossing.
And pressure in 2.
Ready. 2, 1, board down.
You're going to see the Italians tack right in front of Ainsley on this maneuver. They'll have plenty of time to set it up. And they don't.
Let's go with him here.
It's first.
Stand by tack, boys.
One reason why they may not have, Nathan, is this race course is so narrow. They're just trying to minimize maneuvers right now, and knowing that maneuvers kind of lend themselves towards braking gear possibly at the same time. You never know about those things, but I'm kind of surprised they gave him free air right there.
Well, as you say, it could be an opportunity here where Luna Rossa can sail across all the way to the left-hand boundary, tack and make the top marks in one, whereas INEOS might still have 2 more tacks to go. And tack loss, we always know there's a tack loss, but I think when it's wavier, the tack loss is even higher.
Boat is going well, guys.
No surprise that there is plenty of speed out on the course today. Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli sitting around 34 knots, as is INEOS Team New Zealand. They're running at around 40 miles an hour, which is 65 Ks, so that's plenty quick enough in these conditions when you're hanging on.
40 miles an hour upwind, and you heard Francesco Bruni repeatedly on this be kind of reassuringly to the group saying, guys, we're going well, we're going well. It's almost like he sounds a little bit surprised.
That's on the box.
Okay, stand by. 3, 2,
set up.
1, board down.
2, 1, board down. Again, turn it.
Both boats approach the ley line, which means they're going to be on probably their final line into that first gate, and then we're going to see the fast bear away as they go around the marks. This is when the control is the scariest for these boats as they're trying to go around these marks.
Yeah, early drive.
I think we're better off.
No rush, though. No rush.
Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli approaching the top gate for the first time. 6 legs. They will start the downwind leg, and that'll be leg number 2. But they go around that mark for the first time. What's the gap to INEOS Team UK? Keep your eye on the bottom screen, to the bottom right of the screen, and that is the time gap difference. 11 seconds.
Looks like Ainsley just tried to keep that race close, Nathan, on the first leg. Let's not try anything crazy. Let's not do a big split. Let's not look for something that isn't there, and see kind of get a feel for what the boat speeds are compared to the 2 boats.
Okay, my rudder.
First time we've seen him behind in any of these races too. So, what we've seen so far is the team that's had the best start is generally won these races. So sounds like there's a bit of shadow aboard Ben Ainsley. I think it's getting lighter, and I think as it gets lighter with this sea state, the boats are going to get harder and harder to sail. Shirley, on the water, is it dropping there? Have you got any inside knowledge for us?
Yeah, that's a good call, Nathan. You know, there's a lot of rain coming, and there's a lot of areas with a little bit of less wind. That's exactly what happened. And remember, they're quite underpowered as well. Small sails on. And really, you're really going to have to be dynamic with your setup to get through those lulls. But yet, have small enough sails that, when the breeze hits, you're going to be all right.
So different challenges. If there are lulls on the course, when you've got the sort of sails for these supposedly stronger conditions, 42 knots downwind, and that is INEOS Team UK, as opposed to around 37 knots for Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli on leg 2 of 6.
Nothing behind us, right? It's all on the left looking upwind.
So that's the voice of Jimmy Spittle of Luna Rossa talking about the pressure and saying the breeze is stronger on the left-hand side of the course. So they're really trying to talk tactics about how do they go around these bottom marks, get themselves into this new pressure lane, this front that we've been talking about that's coming from the west coast. And if it comes in the middle of this race, tacticians are going to have their work cut out for them.
Not the smoothest of jibes that we've seen from this group. You can see the gap closes up so quickly with one tiny mistake. they're really in the one mistake zone right now. That 200-meter zone is really one mistake away, and you can see they almost have the distance the Brits did just on that one little slider during the jibe.
Come down, kick off. Come down very fast here. Easy. Trim, ragazzi. Trim. Put pressure and right a little bit. Come down, trim. Good here.
Pull forward. Getting close. No, a little further, sorry. All good.
Like cross after.
Yeah, you got time to cross after.
A little bit more pressure right now on the right upwind.
1, 4 down.
Okay.
Can you get that? Wheel pitch. Make sure you get it repping. Copy. Okay. We on. 32s, hold that, Giles. Copy.
Both boats here on their final approach to the bottom gate. Looks like both teams trying to set up to take the right-hand marker, the left-hand marker as we look at here, getting out to that left-hand side of the track to try and get into better pressure. I don't think Ben Ainsley's laid it though, so I think we're going to have a split here at the bottom mark.
Exactly. He's one and in for Ainsley, and hopefully straight in if you're an Italian fan. And again, here comes these gear-busting moments of rounding these marks and fully loading the boat side.
Turning at about 5. 3, 2, 1, here we go, turning.
Luna Rossa Pirelli. Wow. Maintaining their lead with a mini splashdown at the bottom gate for the first time. They were 11 seconds ahead at the top gate. What will it be at the bottom gate?
They're doing a head counter. They all still on board the boat. Oh, we knew this was going to be hard, but this is brutal.
17 seconds though. They've eked out a 6-second gap further on INEOS Team UK.
Guys, just go.
It's marginal just when these guys are crossing right now. Imagine if the boat goes down and all that water is flying over the deck and somebody's trying to cross at the same time.
It's looking really hard for the guys sailing the boats. In all the hour before this race, the breeze had been up. It had been over 20 knots. Here we go. Have a looking at the bottom mark rounding here. Coming in. Check out the foil on the leeward side here. The bow punching through the waves. That there makes the boat really hard to turn. The foil, you can see the white water coming off the leeward foil and big drop there. That's a massive drop in speed. And then Ben Ainsley sets up to go the other mark, and he's struggling just as much. So clearly teams are struggling out there handling the boats in the sea state. It's not the wind strength, it's the sea state.
3, 2, 1, here we go, turning.
And that was the on-board moment.
Oh, it's so. Remember how you asked us early in the piece whether we'd like to be out there driving? This is a nice seat, right? We got the best seats in the house here in our little room with all of our monitors, watching these guys go crazy out there.
We do have to pose the question on leg 3 of 6. We're heading towards the halfway point of race 2, round robin number 2, about Luna Rossa in heavier conditions, and the way that boat's set up and how it's falling right now. What do you make of it, Nate?
Well, they look pretty quick to me. They look like they obviously had a great start, but when the boat punches through the water, yes, there's a lot of white water, but it's not getting fully off balance. You can see the bow touching here every now and then. It sounds like they're about to tacky it, rolling into attack. The bigger foils and the bigger waves are going to have more grip, and that bigger flap is going to give the boat a bit more control. Interesting tactics right now going on. I'm surprised that they've opened up the left-hand side here to Ben Ainsley. Maybe they're trying to sail their own race, and look at that. They look like they've got a right-hand shift now. But surely the weather out there, it looks like it's trending down. How far away is this front that we keep talking about, or is it not going to come in this race?
Okay, ready?
Nathan, I'm not sure about the front. I don't think it'll get to us yet, but there is rain coming down the left-hand side of the course. And normally with a rain cloud, you know, there's more wind, and it's shifted round to the side that it's coming down on. So where Ben has tacked now, but definitely there's something happening which may well happen in the next loop of this race.
Yep, nice.
With both boats splashing down at that leeward mark, Stephen, at that leeward gate, it looks like the issue on Luna Rossa was a little less than the issue, and they've almost again doubled the lead based on 2 mistakes. Your mistake was just a little less than the other guy's mistake, that's all.
And I wondered too, Francesco Bruni in the press conference yesterday asking about heavier conditions, and I think the line was, we have no speed deficit in heavier conditions, and we're seeing that.
Well, he's been saying that all along, by the way, and maybe we should just listen to him every once in a while. We have these preconceived notions over what we've seen before in past races, but the fact is, as we keep talking about, there is changes to these boats every single day. They've obviously found something here.
Well, Kenny, do you think by them putting those running backstays back on and tensioning that forestay might have just given them that upwind speed that they were missing in the stronger breeze?
Well, there's no question that makes the whole package above the deck, the engine above the deck, more adaptable, more you can change gears. Yeah, I think they've used them a lot of times in the breeze. We noticed in light air the other day, they have the running backstays on. They've been forced to put the running backstays back on the boat by the arbitration committee, but they didn't even use them the other day. They were flapping in the breeze. Today, we can obviously see that the weather running backstay is tight, and the leeward one is loose, flapping in the breeze, so they are using it to control the sail plan. Sounds right to me. Sounds smart to me.
Not really one side, it's just
that one cable, the forward cable, is the one on the weather side, on the windward side that's being used, and that's helping not only create or not create mass bend, but it's also getting the head stay tighter and creating a flatter jib at the same time.
Okay, my rudder. My rudder. My trap, yeah.
Stephen, nice little lead for Luna Rossa. This has been a good leg for them, and that kind of easy staying wide against your opponents, it's obviously worked.
Pressure increasing.
2, 1, clear.
Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli at the top gate for the second time and rounding the mark. The advantage was 17 seconds at the bottom gate. Has this been a productive leg for the challenger of record? Keep your eye on that clock. We love the clock, don't we, Kenny? Just to see what the advantage is.
Don't get me started again on this clock.
And they have really put the hammer down, Luna Rossa.
Pressure again, 3. Keep pushing, guys. The pressure. My wheel here.
INEOS Team UK, who are 3 from 3 at the moment. And the deficit has blown out somewhat, now 44 seconds. My word, that's a performance right now from the Italians.
Yeah, so Nathan, we've talked a lot about you can't be fast in all conditions, and frankly, I think the sailing world was a bit surprised yesterday at the strength of this boat in the lighter air. You gotta, if you're gonna get fast in one condition, very often you take it away from the other. You think that we're seeing a little bit of that?
Well, I think we're seeing a little bit of that, but it's not just the wind strength that they mowed these boats for. It's the sea state. You know, the race that they won against Luna Rossa on the first day was similar wind strengths to this. The only difference I can see right now is the size of these waves and the fact that they didn't win the start. It's becoming a bit of a trend, like you said earlier in the week. The starting in that first cross is critical. But what I'm also seeing is this one boat's just sailing away from the other boat. So maybe the sea state is to the Luna Rossa's advantage. They did a lot of sailing in the Mediterranean, quite big waves in the lead up to coming here. Perhaps the training that they've done there, and it's not so much maybe the equipment, but how you're handling the foils, how you're trimming the sails, how you're dealing with the elements.
Okay, my rudder.
Nathan, I'll just jump in there. We are on the left-hand side of the racetrack, and it's really cold air. It's a lot windier. So expect them to sort of be thinking about that in this next outwind. There's a ton more wind on the left-hand side.
All the time.
Thank you, Shirley. Could be some action on this final lap. Looking forward to that, and I guess they're going to be trying to work out at what time do they need to push left to get into that new pressure.
Yeah, we got right turn bias.
Yeah, right turn bias.
35 metres. I followed him 3 here.
We have better pressure than him here?
Yeah, better pressure coming down onto him all the time.
Bad wave coming.
So that could be the new pressure coming down right now.
Save the move.
Right now, as we look at this picture, the wind's coming from the right-hand side.
It's going to be a big shift through this race. It's coming in off that beach.
Yeah, they can see it. They can see it. They're talking about it. Absolutely. And they're just, they actually have the distance because they're getting into that shift first on INEOS Team UK.
Stand by.
A lot of chatter, though. This is going to get exciting. A lot of chatter if this breeze strength is going to pick up the way we think it might.
I'm just trying to get one of them left.
Sensing an opportunity.
No, he's committing to it himself. He's still down inside us as much as we can here.
It's just going to it's going to go 90 degrees left in about a minute.
My pitch.
90 degrees left. That's a massive wind shift to the left-hand side of the course.
We're in the boundary here.
Yeah.
But the big thing is, can they actually lay the mark? If it goes 90 degrees left, do they even have to jive? This is going to create some real confusion.
Okay, building a bit of speed here, Ben.
Low mode here,
They got super light where they are.
It's getting light, and you can see they're going a long way past that artificial ley line that we put up there. Look at that.
Look at all the birds on the front side of the front, you know, getting pushed. Huge wind shift.
Off the foils, this is about to get turned on its head this race once again.
If you're the regatta director, you got to be thinking, is this a fair contest at this stage? It's such a massive wind shift.
Look at that jibe by INEOS Team UK. Very nice jibe. They've taken the lead here. You can see the dark pressure on the top left of our picture here, left-hand corner. That's where the new pressures come from. It's come down with INEOS Team UK, and they've taken the lead.
And even a darker line, Stephen, out behind these guys coming.
Come down, Ben, for the gate.
I can't see it.
Come down.
Okay, four down.
All the way down. Happy to
Jive turn up,
Copy.
Jive turn up.
Pivotal moment in race number 2, round robin 2. As they touched down INEOS Team UK, they were trailing by 44 seconds at the top gate.
Both boats pretty close to out of control because of the wind shift right now. It's because of this big wind shift. It looks to be a lull in front of a big puff that's coming across the race course.
Shirley, what can you see?
Yeah, we are to the left-hand side of the racetrack. I mean, it's a good 25 knots here. It's coming off the land. It's full on here, and it's about to hit them in literally seconds.
When it hits them, Stephen, there's a big choice for our race director. Because they're going to fetch this next gate in one hitch on port tack. They're going to have a straight shot. It doesn't become a windward leeward race course anymore. It becomes essentially a reaching race course when that happens.
8 knots, 7.5.
40 seconds. It's gone from a 44-second deficit to a 40-second advantage for INEOS Team UK. But there are other questions in play.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
So Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli look like they're almost about to do an attack here at the bottom mark. INEOS Team UK sailing towards the bottom of our pitch here. You can see the pressure on the water. It's all about who gets it and gets on the foil and gets ripping towards the top mark.
It just looks ominous out there. Like the breeze isn't there yet, but it's about to get ugly.
First team up and foiling now will be tackling before they go out of bounds. Got attack, guys.
Race Yacht. This is the race committee. We will be abandoning this race.
There we go.
And resailing it.
So race abandonment
Shortly.
and a restart resale.
Brakes might have been abandoned. Hang on.
Copy.
You just stay on the wheel.
Yeah, got it.
Slow down, boys, for a sec.
Ian Murray talked about this before the race. They knew this frontal line was going to be close in the finish. They're not sure if they heard it correctly, so they're asking the race committee if the race, in fact, has been abandoned.
Race committee, can you please fix your last?
They're still racing because I think they're on. Luna Rossa obviously have got the communications there.
Yeah, I'm just not in the boundary yet.
Race abandoned, 4 down.
4 down here.
key thing for these guys now is to not do anything silly and tip the boats over when this squall of 30 knots comes through.
Race Yacht, this is the race committee. The race has been abandoned. We will reset the course and resail the same race. New start time to be advised.
Okay.
Wow. Referential moment.
1 minute you're sailing downwind at 40 knots, and then you literally hit the stop button.
Yeah, well, it's a typical frontal passage. You know, you get that lull, and then the amazing thing was all those birds out in front, that they're being pushed by the pressure.
You see them here approaching the bottom mark. This is a replay from that bottom mark. INEOS Team UK trying to keep it on the foil and just parked, you know, and Luna Rossa do the same. You could see all the white water coming off those foils. That's because they're sailing in chop. They're in the waves, and the ride height becomes super critical.
So I have to ask the question. Folks are going to be watching this going, well, hang on a minute. They got a lead. Yes, the conditions changed suddenly. Why the race abandoned?
So that is always something that is that's the most talked about in our sport. For sure, the race director would have talked to these teams long before this regatta starts as to what people consider a fair race and an unfair race. Listen, I am all for letting these races go in that situation because it is what it is. One boat got ahead, the better team ends up winning.
Both experiencing the same conditions.
But it's a windward lured race course. I think the teams and the race director have decided that if we want to set this race course up upwind, against the wind, and downwind with the wind. With a big, huge shift like this, it turns into a reach. There really isn't any tactics at that stage. You head for the mark, takes the tactics away.
So Kenny, yesterday, a lot of people were saying, well, it was fluky and light, and, you know, someone even said it was a lottery. Was this more of a lottery in that one, or was this just because it was a massive shift in the race?
I think it's just that one massive shift. So it was a lottery yesterday, but they were always on an upwind leg and a downwind leg yesterday, right? That's the big difference. This just turned into a reaching race course. They've decided a long time ago, reaching race courses is not what we're all about. We're about going upwind and we're about going downwind.
As far as entertainment goes, I was all for the change in the lead, and let's just deal with the conditions like anyone would want to see, Kenny.
We could debate that for 1,000. By the way, I'm just reporting right now. Do I necessarily sometimes agree with that type of decision? I'll refrain.
Yeah, go ahead, chase ball.
Well, let's go back and let's just have a look. Here's a big decision in the race by Ben Ainslie. Not only did he go unforced out of bounds in this situation, but he decided to push back rather than lead back. He was in a position where he could have tacked to the left of Prada, but he decided to actually continue on, had a boundary penalty, and was late for the start. So really we've seen really perfect start, almost perfect starts from Ainslie so far. This was definitely not only an unforced error, but probably he would like that strategy back.
Yeah, I think the conditions definitely are playing a part here to how high level these teams are sailing at. It was sort of a boundary bounce up the first beat. Ben was doing a good job of just trying to stay close to Prada, and these teams are probably doing a speed check just to see, are they fast enough? And Francesco Bruni said they don't think they have issues in strong breeze, and sure enough, they went around the top mark with a nice little lead ahead of them, and were slowly just stretching it out here. You can see Ben Ainslie following them around the same gate, and as the race was developing until that shift came, Luna Rossa were just slowly gapping them.
Yeah, no question about it. They look good, they look comfortable, like we talked about during the race. Francesco Bruni has told us, except for maybe a little sloppy, but again, like you keep saying, Nathan, the waves are definitely affecting how these boats are sailed. But Francesco Bruni has been telling us all along that, you know what, we think we're okay in a breeze, and sure enough, they look pretty good to us. Now comes the big pass. The frontal passage is coming in. Luna Rossa comes off their foils. It allows Ainslie to go around the outside, but then essentially they both park. It is hard. It is completely, the wind is shifting approximately 90 degrees, a big lull before the action happens, a big lull before the breeze comes firing in from the left-hand side and kind of forces the race to be abandoned by Ian Murray. And Stephen, you're shaking your head. They should let them play. Is that what you're saying?
Let them play. If
Yeah.
you talk about fair racing, you're both sailing in those conditions. But confirming what you're watching right now. Round robin 2, race number 2. For the moment, it has been abandoned. We will resail after a course reset. So get ready for more wild times on the water. Certainly not a gloomy day on the Waitemata Harbour, but it is gloomy for the teams because we go to restart. Let's just remind you about the efficiency of these boats and help me with the squiggles again.
Well, the Italian boat is the green line and the British boat is the orange line. And you can see that the Italians actually had a few more struggles in their tacks or jibes. There's really not a whole lot in this, Nathan. It's two boats. There's no big mistakes here. Let's put it that way.
No big mistakes, but you can see the average speed is actually to the UK team, but that's based off the fact that they finally took the lead at the very bottom of the course. This graph sort of has on the left-hand side the speeds, and on the right-hand side as we go across, that's just time throughout the race, but there's not a lot in it, and that shows how close they were at the bottom mark. You know, what we're really looking for is these wobbles. You see one bad jibe, one bad tacky by UK over on the left where it kind of went slow for a while. It took a while to get back up to speed.
Let's just remind you of the key moment in this race that has been abandoned at the end of 4 legs.
Yeah, key moment was the start. You know, it was Ainsley got himself behind by this decision right here. Spithill and Bruni decide to throw a jibe in right near the race boundary. That puts the pressure on Ainsley. He's got to make a decision right now. Is he going to tack and lead back to the starting line, or is he going to go beyond and in what's called push and push the other boat back towards the starting line? He decides to go beyond and come back and push, but he sails outside the boundary at the same time. So not only does he end up being late for the start, it's easy for us to say as they're smashing through waves going 40 knots. He makes a little error and has to drop back 2 lengths at the start itself to get rid of his penalty. So not the best, certainly not the best start for Ainsley, but they'll have that one back again and come back fighting next time.
So an unforced error by INEOS Team UK, but they did get the lead back until race abandonment. But now you have to start thinking about, are they racing in too much wind?
Well, when they were just showing the boats head to wind there, just kind of sitting there, it looked windy. So when a front passes like this, it's going to be windy for a while. So I'm guessing it's going to be above that racing limit. And we might have to wait a little bit, but that's yet to be seen. We'll probably get to Ian Murray, the race director, here shortly, and we can find out what these wind averages are and how close we are. The other thing, they have to turn the whole race course to the left. So that's really the big one.
Day number 3 of the PRADA Cup Challenger Series on the Waitemata Harbour. Understandably with heavier conditions, a smaller spectator fleet. Just confirmation that race 2, round robin 2, which was underway until abandonment at the bottom gate at the end of 4 legs of 6, has been abandoned, and the restart is expected to be at 5 minutes past 4 local time, 4:05 local time. Now, the wind limit for this PRADA Cup Challenger Series is at 21 knots. And I just wonder whether, again, we'll go back over this a little bit, whether they are now pushing the wind limits too much. I mean, where the gear's going on, they want to be out there, but should they be out there, Kenny?
No. They're pushing 30+ knots in these puffs. It's been reported to us. So they're just kind of holding on right now. Let's keep the asset under control. Let's not break anything. Let's make sure we keep the boat upright. That's actually an issue with these boats, and wait for this passage to happen, and hopefully it settles in and they move the race course and off we go.
Yeah, it definitely looks windy and wet out there now. Shirley, let's go down to you on the water. Is it wet, windy and cold? Because it looks wet and windy and cold from here.
From our comfort zone here, Shirley.
I got the short straw today. No, it is cold and it's raining really hard. I definitely say it's over the wind speed limit for now. But as you say, I mean, I think it looks maybe a little bit clearer in our future, and when it starts to clear a little bit, then hopefully a little bit less wind. But it's going to be full on, isn't it? There's no doubt about that. They're going to have plenty of breeze. Imagine you're a grinder on Luna Rossa. You've just done a race in a lot of breeze, and you've got the prospect of 2 more. That's
you're right.
Big day for those guys.
Very good point. Very good point.
Shirley, can I ask you about the performance of Luna Rossa and what you made of them in these conditions, because we were asking the question about that performance in these winds.
I mean, I thought they looked strong, they looked adaptable. I mean, we had a massive difference in wind speed. I mean, the lulls were, I don't know, like 10, 11, 12 knots, and then the puffs, 20 plus. And they seemed to be able to just power up what they had and flatten it all off when they had to as well. So very impressed with their performance. I think that their decision making, seeing that line of rain and wind coming, perhaps they were a bit slow really to react to that. But in terms of performance, I'd say really promising.
We've talked a lot about boat profiles when they are foiling in great condition. The one thing that this novice has noticed about the front of the Luna Rossa boat is how steady the nose is when it's foiling and how flat it is. And we talk about that gap between the skeg and the water, because it's got to be a smaller. For me, it looks like they got it right in these conditions.
Well, your point's pretty accurate, I think. Like, these guys are designing the boats to have that skeg so it's skimming above the water to seal the boat to the water for aerodynamics. But when you're out there in a sea state, the Luna Rossa boat is much pointier, so it punches through the waves better. There's less drag, whereas INEOS is a flatter surface underneath that. And so when it hits, it actually is bouncing. And so every time the hull's touching the water, I think Luna Rossa are dealing with that slightly better. INEOS, on the other hand, have to sail with the boat a little bit higher in the air on average, which means maybe less windward heel, losing riding moment. If they sail higher, the foil is a lot more likely to pop out of the water. So design philosophy, did you design your boat for the waves or did you design it for the flat water? And that comes down to race course positioning. I've been here for all year, watching the teams training when they come. No one goes out there when the wind is in this strength in that direction. They are in the back paddock hiding in flat water or in the harbour. So this is a surprise that they're out there racing in this. But Luna Rossa did a lot of training back in Cagliari, in Italy, sailing in conditions a bit more like this. So maybe they thought they'd be out in the Gulf one day.
Well, they would have done their homework, right? They would know the conditions in the go, and they'd have a head start on the design phase, along with Emirates Team New Zealand, to go, well, this is what we need to do.
I know, but I think the reason why they're out there today is because he knew this big wind shift was coming, and they needed a spot of water that they could take a race course and literally move it 90 degrees to the left and not have a complete disaster on his hand. Like in one of those Christmas races, remember, there was the crowd of other boats were right in the middle of a race course. Here, I think they're much more adaptable in the middle of the Hauraki Gulf to take a race course with a huge wind shift and turn it 70, 80, 90 degrees to the left and be ready to go racing again in a short period of time.
So that's probably a little bit of social media on board Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli out in the middle. It's probably one of those live videos. It's now gone back inside the jacket, so maybe it wasn't. Just a little something they can use a little bit later. But just confirmation of where we sit right now on this Sunday afternoon. It's round robin 2, race number 2. It has been abandoned and will be
race jobs. This is the race committee.
restarted.
We are pushing back the start. The new time will be 16:20.
16:20 as the bananas go into the water. I always thought it was bad having bananas on a boat. You know, the foiling revolution has taken the old mug into a new realm. Sailing will never be the same, and neither will be kiting, stand-up paddleboarding, wakeboarding, even surfing. The foiling craze has become the present and the future of water sports, and according to Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli's Jimmy Spittle, it makes every day the best day ever.
Mate, who doesn't love foiling? That's my question. I mean, you go and speak to any kid nowadays, and if you put on the beach like a foil board or a normal surfboard, he's going straight to the foil board. He's picking it up. Me too. The beauty of being able to just pick up your foil board and just pump it up, and then off you go by yourself and your foiling is just so pure and simple. That's the great thing about the sports. You can have both ends of the spectrum, yet they both apply. And you learn something from either that you can apply to the other. For us, it's always good just to try things outside of our comfort zone and outside of our normal world, because you can generally take a lesson that you can apply back at work. Did a bit of training for, you know, the sort of breath hold and the freedive training. Man, that's tough. That's hard work. But again, it just pushes you. It's getting comfortable in an uncomfortable setting. And what you learn is not to panic, just trying to calm down. And I think that's something every athlete you try to train yourself to do, that when the heat comes on, the pressure comes on, or you're getting exhausted, that you try and sort of calm yourself down to make a good decision, because that's usually one of the key points or key drivers to a good decision, is to calm down, take it all in, and then make a decision. Not be in a sort of rushed, stressed, panic mode making the decision, because more often than not, just like in life, you'll probably make the wrong one. It's just such a cool time to be involved in the game. I mean, it's another skill you've got to learn. You go surfing, you can go foiling, you can go wing foiling, you know, kite foiling, windsurfers now. I mean, there are things from foil surfing that apply here. Anytime you go foiling, you get a sensation of the G-forces, and the bigger the boat, generally the more that can happen, just because of the speeds. And these boats you can really throw around like a dinghy, yet the speeds and the loads are of a huge boat. When you're out there and you're going at full throttle, yeah, they're unbelievable. From a technology point of view, from the foiling point of view, it's incredible to think what will be the next step now. And when you look back at probably the last decade in this game, man, what a decade to be involved in the America's Cup. I mean, it's just been this huge quantum leap from what we call somewhat standard sailing to now really being on the cutting edge. It's all good and well to come out and talk the talk on the land, but at the end of the day, they're not going to hand you the trophy for that. They're going to hand you the trophy for going out and winning on the water. So you got to go with the moment, and you got to leave it all out in the field. Like any great sporting team or great sporting battle, you know, that's what you live for. And the boats are super physical, and the design is so new. It really has got the makings of the San Francisco campaign, and I think that's a pretty cool thing.
We are on day number 3 of the PRADA Cup Challenger Series, and you just on board Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli, where the conditions seem to have lightened up somewhat. I want to go onto the water with Chase Boat 1, Shirley Robertson, double Olympic gold medalist. Are things starting to lighten up, Shirley?
Yes, hopefully you can see from our shot, we have a little bit of blue sky. The wind has decreased. I mean, it looks well within the limit currently. On the horizon, there's more kind of dark stuff, so we'll see what happens. I mean, today it's really volatile. The wind is now blowing off the land as well, so when they do race, I mean, expect it to be really shifty and gusty, particularly at the top end of the course. It's going to be a challenging race, Steve.
How's the old tummy out there on Chase Boat 1 with all those choppy conditions, Shirley?
You know, I'm a master mariner, Stephen. Do you know, right, the hard thing is watching, you know, because I keep an eye on the monitor on what the viewers are seeing as well. So the hard thing is watching that. So I'm kind of head out the boat, just watching really what's going on in the water. It's full on trying to bring you these shots today, but good fun.
You're asking a two-time gold medalist if she's having a hard time on the water. Is that what you're doing, Stephen? Is that where we're going to go here today?
Well, what I was suggesting was, because Shirley had suggested it was hard to get behind the monitor, a little bit of motion sickness, regardless of being how incredibly talented and successful she might be. We're all a little subject to that, are we not, Nathan?
Well, I'm just happy I'm with you guys here today. I don't like getting rained on. I don't like it when it's wavy. I'm very much a fair weather sailor.
Well, I was going to say precious when that came out, when you're talking about that one. I don't want to be out there, but we'll leave that alone.
I've been called that many times before.
So confirmation of where we are at, wherever you're watching this around the world. We are in a holding pattern at the moment. Round Robin 2, race number 2. Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli against INEOS Team UK, the team that has not lost a race in the PRADA Cup Challenger Series so far. And it was called off, abandoned by race management at the bottom gate at the end of leg number 4. They have pushed the start out. They're trying to find the best course to get this race restarted at 4:20 local time. It has, the conditions certainly have changed, have they not?
And they will. That first blast comes through, but then it's still going to be squally out there. There's going to be some squalls behind. You're going to see still shifty conditions. They're trying to change that race course around as quick as they can so we can bring action back to the rest of the world.
I'm sure there are a lot of musings going on for folks watching, going, why is it that INEOS Team UK have looked so strong in lightish conditions, which we didn't expect, in light to medium, and there was a lot of talk about them being stronger in these type of conditions, that they were actually being sort of shown the way by Luna Rossa.
You build one, you got to take away from the other, I think, Nathan, and you know, there might be a little bit of that going on. They do have big foils, as we showed in the pre-show. You never know. I think this whole package is so new to these guys that they're not even sure what they have, and they're gonna surprise themselves in some conditions versus another. In essence, it's kind of a new boat, right?
It's a completely new boat, and they haven't got to sail this boat in the full range of conditions yet. You know, since Christmas, since the racing in December, they've modified several components of the boat, and we haven't had weather like this for a month. We haven't had windy, rainy. You know, it's been a nice summer in Auckland, and I say that as a surprise. I'm an Aussie. I've been living here for a while. It often rains. It often gets, you know, quite a lot of these tough conditions. They've not been out to test their boat in the waves yet, and I think today was the first time they actually got to do any form of sailing in some chop. And the question is, can they find a way to get a bit more speed for this next race?
Which further enhances the argument that what we are seeing in this PRADA Cup Challenger Series right now is continued development of these AC75s to get the maximum out of the package. So round robin 2, race number 2 will restart at 4:20 local time. So we'll take you back a couple of days to round robin 1, race number 1, American Magic against Britannia.
Start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Be on. High pitch.
And it's on. PRADA Cup, race 1, American Magic against INEOS Team UK, and they are both away clean.
The most important drag race of INEOS's young career here so far. Are they competitive in this wind strength? We're going to find out pretty quick.
But American Magic seem to have the slight edge, just really pushing and pushing INEOS, and eventually they had to tag.
Okay, and 21.
One telltale sign here is INEOS is actually, they've struggled to get up and going in the light air, and they've been sailing with bigger jibs all the time because of that. Today, they actually, for the first time we've seen, they have a smaller jib up than their competitor. I find that really, I find that a good sign for them.
Copy that.
Looks like INEOS is going quite quick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, they clearly made an effort in the pre-start to not engage, to keep that wide right position to windward. and maybe they're wanting to protect the right-hand side of the course, but right now they are going fast and high.
Well, this might become as a surprise maybe to some people watching around the world, but I wonder what the chat is like on American Magic right now.
He's left bit.
You're going to pick up good left-hand pressure here.
I will. Okay, crossing at 5. Basically on. Working your cars.
Surprised they didn't go further, all the way to ley line there, Nathan.
I think they must have got to that boundary a bit earlier than they wanted to. If American Magic can get to the boundary and make the top in one, they're going to save a tack, and they're going to have split tacks at the top and starboard advantage.
He's on ley line.
And how about this, INEOS Team UK fans? INEOS Team UK on the first of 6 legs will round the top gate first, followed closely behind by American Magic. If anyone thought INEOS was going to have trouble, think again. It truly is game on in the PRADA Cup. Let's just go on board INEOS Team UK.
Nice. Okay, nice there. Pressure looks good here, Giles. Left shift. Yeah. Try and get it ripping a bit here, Giles. Easy a touch a bit.
They are cranking it close to 40 knots, INEOS Team UK, and look at the advantage they have on American Magic.
Not only is INEOS started well, held their lanes, but they actually used the breeze better, and particularly on this downwind run, they've had better pressure this whole run, and they're extending.
39 knots, 2 or 1 board rounder.
They'll jibe around that and head up for leg number 3 against American Magic. And right now, as we head to the halfway point of this opening race in the PRADA Cup, they look strong.
We've really got to work on those, I think, to the boundary. Yeah. Nice there.
And a terrible bottom mark rounding by American Magic. Looked like a big touchdown and leeway skid. We heard Ben Ainsley talk about their bottom mark rounding of a leeway skid, but American Magic has worked.
One word comes to mind when you see a little moment like that in a big race like this: pressure.
Good pressure, nice.
Back to the middle of the race course for INEOS. Really smooth maneuvers so far, don't they? With the tacks and jives, nothing in it for the way I see it right now.
Surely you've got a close-up view of how INEOS Team UK are faring right now.
It looks a different boat to what we're used to seeing, doesn't it, Stephen? I mean, and they're that confident. As Nathan said, they've been sailing their own race here. They've just been, you can see the big puffs of breeze dropping, and they're just sailing into the puffs, joining them together, and eventually getting to this top right-hand corner where it is so breezy.
I still think it's a huge sign that they have a smaller jib on than their competitor. We just literally haven't seen that. They've struggled. They've really worked to have to create power. And obviously, something has changed dramatically that they get to switch down.
We'll have a look at their foils here. Remember in December they were red, and now their foils there, they're black. So surely that's not just a paint job change. Surely they've done a little bit more than just getting out the black spray paint and saying, well, this should make us go quicker.
Ready? 2, 1, board down, bit lighter out of this. Copy. Yeah, good. Easy on trim just for a sec. Yep. Coming on. Good on flat now. My wheel. Yeah, you got it. Hang on. Okay, coming away. 3, 2, 1. Coming down. My wheel. Your wheel. Okay.
Halfway through the opening race in the PRADA Cup 2021 between INEOS Team UK and American Magic. Remember, at the end of leg 2, the gap was 19 seconds.
This is a struggle getting worse right now for the Americans. Another tack.
American Magic finally get around and complete leg number 3, but the gap to INEOS Team UK has blown out to 47 seconds.
I'm sorry, guys, but is anyone else thinking they've been sandbagging until today?
You went there.
But check it out. It's unbelievable what we're seeing here. We've been talking all summer, all Christmas about what is going on here? You know, we've been saying, how are they so far behind? And then they're just coming out and just being dominant. Like, where did this come from?
Shirley, does this come as any surprise to you?
Not really. I mean, this is the game, Stephen, isn't it? Every day, just move it forward, and I think there'll be more to come, not just from this team, but all of them. And they have, you know, some of the best technicians and smarts in the business, every team. And so in 3.5 weeks, they can achieve a lot, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now.
Nice, ready?
They're just playing their own race course here too, Nathan. They're very clearly, they're connecting the dots on this race course, which are the dark patches, as good as you can.
Okay, go for this barrel. 3, 2, 1. Bow down. Nice. Nice and gentle. Nice and gentle. My wheel. I've got it. Okay.
And that is the last rounding of the gate as they head on the homeward leg. INEOS Team UK, Britannia is on the homeward run, and the yacht you can see in front of you is American Magic, yet to complete the 5th leg. Yes, Nathan suggests that was sandbagging, but this is a great story.
I'm not going with that. I'd just like to go on record right now. I am not of the sandbag mentality, but there's no way anybody has the guts to sandbag like that. That would be world-class sandbagging if that's what they were doing.
Just looking at the overhead shot, it's so clear. More pressure on one side than the other, and they've never even crossed the center of the course. That's how obvious it is.
Yeah.
Sticking to their game plan and sailing tactically really well.
Yeah, it's good. Finishing here, boys. Let's do a racing turn up to finish.
They couldn't buy a win in the World Series pre-Christmas 2020. INEOS Team UK win PRADA Cup Race 1 and get the first points on the board.
Main on. 2, 1, course. That's a better one. Okay, awesome job, guys. Well done, guys. Nice work, guys. Nice.
Unbelievable. And it gives you an idea of the development of these boats and how quickly you can go from 0 to hero. And hey, now they got to do it all over again.
That was from day number 1, round robin 1, race number 1, and the first of 3 wins for Britannia, who now have 3 on the board. At the moment, you can see them in the background and Rossa in the foreground. We are waiting for the restart of race number 2 in round robin 2. Rossa have a win on the board, a win against American Magic, although it was a DNF from American Magic yesterday. They are 0-3, but we are preparing for the restarting conditions where we saw the race abandoned at the bottom gate at the end of leg number 4. And some would suggest why, but those are the rules, and that's race management. I'm still not comfortable with that like you, Kenny, but we'll just move on because it's much lighter out there.
I wouldn't call it light out there, but it's certainly lighter. It's sailable. It's getting sailable. Same jibs back up again. American Magic out practicing, getting ready to go. So it's certainly sailable. It wasn't sailable there for a little bit. When that thing first came through, it was really windy. But now we're back under control. Passage at the front, and off we go.
All right, we are 10 minutes away from the restart of race number 2, round robin number 2. But let's go back to school, shall we? Here's another rule to get your head in the game.
This is the umpires. Italy, you do have a penalty. You do have a penalty.
Give me some hot. Go up. Back up. What are these guys doing?
Hey!
Protest here. Too close.
We're racing, right?
In any sport we play, it's crucial to know the rules of the game. Today's lesson is all about rounding the marks. With the race underway, both boats have to go around the marks at the top and bottom of the course, the gates. When the boats choose opposite marks, it's plain sailing. But it gets slightly more complicated when they're neck and neck and choose the same mark. In this case, blue is the clear leader. Yellow is a little ways behind. There's no overlap, so no problem. So yellow has to let them go around the mark unobstructed. But let's hit the rewind button. Imagine the competition was a lot closer, and yellow has its bow across blue's stern. In this case, yellow has control, and blue can do nothing but give them the right of way. Here's an example, with American Magic having to give room to Emirates Team New Zealand.
3, 2, 1, away you go. Stopping him.
Team New Zealand has the right of way, and American Magic has to get out of the way.
Go on, boys, go on. Push. Really nice, guys, really nice. White flag him there in the boundary.
So now you know. Just a little rules package on how to get around the marks. Well done, Teach. Nice job, Kenny.
Well done by Ian. By the way, there's a little boat there on the in the distance near the race course. Great job by the race committee to get this race course reset this quickly, and we're getting ready to go have some action.
Well, it's not easy to drag those. I think they're 900 kilograms, 3.5 meters high,
and move that container ship off the race course.
I think that ship was a lot further away than I thought.
Maybe.
Closing in on a start for race 2, round robin 2. This is what happened last time.
In the pre-start, it was the choice of Ben Ainsley to either lead back or to push your competitor back, and that's towards the starting line, which is on the upper left-hand part of our screen. It's going to come into play here in a second. This is all about timing now, and Ainsley got it a little wrong for the first time in a while. He was late, and PRADA was in a very controlling situation. In fact, not just controlling, but going really quick, Nathan, on this first beat, and developed a nice little lead up by the first gate.
Yeah, they had a nice little lead at the top mark here. You see both boats rolling into attack on that first boundary. This is the cross we talked about, that critical cross. The start is the start, but you don't convert your lead off the start until this first cross. And both boats here just sailed neck and neck the whole way up here on port tack. And it really showed that there wasn't much in it in terms of boat speed. Going around the top mark, this is the bit that we thought the boats are going to struggle at, but both boats handled it just fine. The sea state was out there, but clearly the guys on the flight controller, flying the boats at a really nice height, keeping the rudders in the water, but the bottom marks look to be a lot harder than top marks as seen here. A couple of touches on the bow, and the next minute that foil pops out, white water goes everywhere, and it's a full reset, rebuild, and Ben Ainsley comes in doing his job. Here's the white water all over the crew, and that's why they're wearing those ski goggles.
That makes sense. Here's where it got a little dicey again. This is when this frontal passage came through. Ainsley actually sailed around Luna Rossa in this situation. They got into more pressure out by where the frontal line was coming, got on their foils first. Then here's the real transition. This is the lull before the storm, so to speak. This is where both boats splash down, struggle to get back up again. And this is where Ian Murray, the race director, decided enough is enough. He's seen enough. This is not becoming a fair windward leeward race, and they called it.
And confirmation now that the start time for the restart of race number 2 and round robin 2 has been pushed back to 4:30. 4:30, the new start local time if you are joining us around the world watching the PRADA Cup Challenger Series 2021 on the Hauraki Gulf. Let's go onto the water with Shirley Robertson, 2-time gold medalist. And Shirley, what are the conditions like that out there, and why do you think it's been pushed back?
The conditions look great, Stephen. That's the good news. I think Ian Murray and his race team, they're just having to reconfigure the race course, moving all the boys and getting them into position. And I guess that's just what we're waiting for. But meanwhile, all 3 boats, actually, the Americans as well, are just flying back and forward. Great conditions here, still up and down. Difficult calls, I'd say, for the weathermen. What jib to use is going to be, a really big decision, because there's a massive range of wind speed still, and lots of weather to come.
Hey Shirley, what's the sea state like there at the moment? Looks like if this wind has gone left, has it flattened out a little bit?
Well, no, currently it's sort of waves in every direction, Nathan. And you know what that feels like. I mean, obviously we had strong, big waves from the northerly. Now the wind's gone nearly 90 degrees to the left, and it's beginning to build waves. So it's really confused and choppy and not easy.
So I guess those flight controllers are going to have a tough go of it out there. You know, we've got, looking at this footage here of Jimmy Spittle on the leeward side flying the boat. They're going to have to be switched on today, make sure that that boat flies at the perfect height.
I think fitness, something that Shirley brought up earlier, fitness on the Italian boat is a real part of the action here, because they got to do a complete redo against the British, right? And then they got to sail a second race of the day. So essentially, they have a 3-race day at this stage. So I wonder if they rotate. It'd be interesting to see if they rotate more of the grinders, because essentially they've added another race to the docket.
Makes sense to me, Kenny, and get those high-performance athletes, give them a break, because they are doing this constantly, and the training that goes into, you know, the pit, the meat boys, the big packs of meat in there, is phenomenal. But a body can only take so much, and what we who have never been on a boat before don't understand is doing the grinding right at the same time, but the other pressures involved in the boat and what they have, you know, balance and G-forces, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, well, there's one thing is like the guys at the back of the boat who are sailing these boats, they want to keep training and testing and tuning the boat and getting a feel for it, but you've got to manage how much sailing you do versus how much energy you're spending with the grinders. You know, if you were Francesco Bruni, Jimmy Spittle, they would just love to go fast and train all the time. The grinders, they're going to wear themselves out. Shirley, you want to come in and give your 2 cents on what you'd be doing if you were driving one of these boats?
I always want to give my 2 cents, Nathan. You know, quite often we see the PRADA grinders sort of resting. They have, you know, bouts of real intensity, and then they have a little rest. It's not like that on the British boat. When you see they have less grinders, there's only 6 grinders, not 8, and they are turning the handles all the time, non-stop, just, you know, keeping that power, you know, in the batteries. And, you know, for them, I know their heart rates are maximum. They're running, you know, 180s, 185 for the entire length of the race. And we don't talk about them much, but it's a full-on job. And if you're at the back of the boat, particularly, you know, in conditions like today that are ever changing, it's a massive demand on your grinding team.
Yeah, Shirley, I actually spoke to Nick Hutton, one of the grinders off INEOS Team UK yesterday. He said it felt like interval training for them. He said it was a complete whipping around that racetrack, and man, I'm glad I'm not a grinder.
Well, you're just glad that you're sitting in here in the dry and the comfort, the air conditioning comfort, and not in Shirley's position as you were yesterday. We are waiting for a restart on round robin 2, race number 2. Time now to go at 4:30 between Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli, who have the 1 point on the Challenger Series board, while INEOS Team UK have 3. They have had 3 from 3. And that is an incredible way to start. We waxed lyrical about it yesterday, how they have literally turned their campaign upside down and have made a massive improvement towards this PRADA Cup. Success, victory, and winning. Those 3 words pretty much sum up Francesco Bruni's sailing career. The 3-time Olympians won 7 world, 5 European, and 15 Italian championships across different classes. Now, this is his 5th America's Cup campaign. The old mug is one of the few pieces of silverware to elude his grasp.
Sailing is really my passion, and I think water is my passion. I love water and ocean, every aspect of it. My father keeps telling me that he thinks I have a little bit of salt in my veins, and it's probably true. I grew up on a boat. I started when I was very young with my father, and I just love it. I just love to be in open air, in the water. I feel very lucky. My passion is also my job, so I know that it's a luck that not everybody has, and I love it. It's a great challenge, really a nice challenge. America's Cup is my life since a while, and it's a trophy that I never won. So I've been trying many times. I definitely learned how to lose it. I haven't learned how to win it yet. So I hope this one is really the right time. It would be one of the biggest things in Italy's sport ever. I don't know why, but when it comes to America's Cup, all the Italians are sailors. And it's crazy. They start following and they start chatting about sailing, even if they had no experience about it. They all become sailors. So I think America's Cup is a big thing for Italy, and I'm very happy that Mr. Bertelli is still trying, and I hope he's gonna be lucky this time. Our boat is capable of winning. Every month we're going faster and faster. Every week is a couple of tenths of a knot, and if you sum them all up, by the beginning of racing we could see big numbers. And there will be incidents. I mean, let's face it, it's hard because we are pushing the game. I know the boats are gonna get closer and closer, probably not at the very beginning of the racing, but I don't want to see any contact between foils. No. I don't want to think about collisions. Nah, it's something I don't want to see.
Okay, boys, stand by. Batting away.
There are some things that are very close to Formula One, but it's not one person on the car, it's 11 people on board. That's, for me, is the biggest difference. I don't think one individual can win the cup by himself, no. I think the only way to win the cup is teamwork. Teamwork, teamwork. I mean, it's a teamwork. Everybody has to push 110%. If we all do that, we were gonna win.
Francesco Bruni, always confident. He says they have a boat capable of winning. We're a long way away, but we do want to watch and see it unfold. 11 minutes and 29 seconds and counting for the restart of race 2, round robin phase number 2. It's been pushed to a 4:35 local start. Just pushed it back to 4:35. So Nathan, another 5 minutes pushed back. Why would you be pushing it back?
Well, I guess they're still trying to just get this course angle correct. And the wind is probably not stabilized enough out there now. You can see all the teams on the bow who are on board with INEOS. That jib is down again. They've got to choose which jib they want to use. Is it the J5, which is the really strong jib when it's the smallest one? Is it the J4, which means maybe it's only around 15 knots? They've got 5 different jibs to pick there, and this wind is going up and down constantly.
And for those that don't know sailing, the jib is the sail at the front of the mainsail.
Correct, thank you.
Good one. You're learning there, Stephen McIver. You're learning.
Wow.
That's why he's the best in the business.
Wow, is all I'm going to say on that one. So, jib change for INEOS Team UK ahead of a restart. They, just to let you know what happened in the first race, quite briefly, that was in wild conditions. They led at mark 1 by 11 seconds, number 2 by 17 seconds, 44 seconds at number 3. But the fourth, there was a change, and that was just on the restart and the abandonment. INEOS had found that big shift on the left-hand side of the course, and it turned a 44-second deficit into a 40-second advantage, and then race committee pulled the pin. Yeah, it's still ranked.
Well, it's Ian Murray's discretion whether he thinks the race course is fair, and he deemed it's not fair. I mean, it's really as simple as that. Like people's understanding of anything, it's discretionary, and we're going to go race it again here, though.
So, what do we think that jib is, Nathan?
Well, we're going to find out when they pull it up, but you see that sock that's going over the forestay. There's 3 of them up there trying to handle this sail. The longer that sock is, the smaller the jib's going to be. And as it goes up, if the camera stays here for the next 5 minutes, which we know it won't, it'll tell you J5, J4. So just wait and see. We'll come back and have a look at that later.
So the story continues on a Sunday afternoon in the Waitemata Harbour. What will Mother Nature do, and what will the teams do? Stay with us. We have been talking about the powerhouses, the grinders, and Dave Carr, known as Fred, is one of the powerhouses of INEOS Team UK. This is his 5th Cup campaign, making one of Britain's most experienced America's Cup sailors. He is a fiercely competitive, fiercely loyal man to his skipper, Sir Ben Ainslie.
The question you always get asked is, what's it like sailing with Ben Ainslie? You get asked it in every interview. And it's just like sailing with one of your really good mates. He's a good bloke, absolutely world-class sailor, the most fierce competitor. He even did this competition when we're doing our safety training, who could hold your breath the longest, and he almost drowned trying to win it. That's Ben. He's so positive the whole time. Even when we have a bad day, he'll come in and he'll be like, we've learned this, this and this, we did this better today. In a few days' time, we'll do this better. Keep going, keep driving, keep pushing. That's really smart leadership and natural leadership. It's what he does. I reckon he's changed a fair bit out the back of Bermuda. The amount of energy we all burn into what a project we were supremely proud of. And we really believed in what we were doing. And fundamentally, we were kind of 2 or 3 degrees off very early on in some of our design decisions. And we had some moments in the build-up to Bermuda that were really bad.
Oh, there's a collision up there.
We ran into the dock not long before the Cup. We had rudders blowing off the back of the boat. We had all kinds of stuff going on within our foils. We just kept going. We knew the whole world was looking at us, but we stayed really, really solid as a unit. We knew that we were in control of certain things, and we knew that we weren't in control of other things. And the things that we were in control of, we decided to do it better than anyone else could do. And that's why I think we eventually, in my opinion, kind of played off par, I guess you'd say. In my head, I kind of think we played off par just about. But it was hard. And the 6 months, actually to about a year after that Cup, the processing of that 3 years and what we learned through that process and what we learned through failing was really hard. Yeah, we're learning how to sail again. I think more so than 2013. This is next level. This makes an AC50 look basic. I mean, you go downstairs on these boats and look at the systems on board, and it's just absolutely mind-blowing. And the foil designers are just like, it's 15 times more complicated, trying to get the foils to do what they want to do and the parameters they're working within compared to the AC50 foils. It's a challenge. It's a real challenge. Like every time we come in off the water, we've learned something completely new. To say every day is a school day is an absolute understatement. It's like every day you're going into a physics lecture and learning like master's physics. It's pretty out there. I definitely have to have a few coffees before every debrief.
INEOS grinder David Carr, part of a 120-strong INEOS organisation, here to try and take the old mug back home. Restart 4:35, Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli, port entry, starboard entry, INEOS Team UK. Will Mother Nature play ball? The conditions have changed, and now it's time to start thinking about gearing up and getting on with it.
Guys have put in some practice time in between the big squall that pushed through, and now we see I wouldn't call this light conditions out there, Nathan. It's still lumpy, really lumpy. Like Shirley reported a while ago, there's waves coming from all directions with this big wind shift right now, which is typical of that situation. And we're going to see the stability on the foils. We're going to get another check-in on boat speeds for heavy air, and off we go.
Well, one thing I know is foiling boats don't like waves, and these teams will be struggling with that. You know, the flight controllers on both boats are going to have their work cut out for them. INEOS Team UK have got Luke Parkinson and Lee McMillan flying their boat, and man, we saw how rock solid they were in the flat water the last couple of days, but they might have a chance to recalibrate from that last race, and the sea state is all over the place, so it's not a job I'd be wanting, that's for sure.
Onto the water with Shirley Robertson in chase 1. Update us on the conditions, Shirley.
Well, Stephen, the sun's come out, so you'll be pleased to hear. It's great conditions. I mean, we're near the start area, it's about 16 knots of wind. obviously the course has been rotated, and now the top end, the top gate and the top end of the course is actually quite close into the land. So, I mean, I wonder if the teams are getting concerned about the sea state, is whether they, you know, they get close in to the shelter of the land there, if that might help. It feels to me there's still plenty weather in this day. Both boats have gone for pretty small jibs, and I think, you know, they'll have been talking to their meteorologists and expecting, you know, plenty of pressure for the next 30 minutes.
Well, the one thing we did know is that front was going to come through and change it, and all the forecasts had, once this front passed through, it was going to hold in the northwest direction and be pretty solid in the high teens today. So if that front is now through, then this breeze should be here to stay, and I think we're going to have pretty windy, but it's going to be shiftier than what we saw before because it's starting to come off that land where you can see top marks under the land up there.
Exactly, shifty, and that's when you get passes in what looks like reasonably benign situations. So splits at the top gate become that much more dangerous for the boat ahead. Yeah, this is going to be real action out here again, and can't wait to see it. You know, I bet you Ben Ainsley had a sit down with his team as to talking about what to do in these windy pre-starts. Maybe we see a little bit of different action out of Ben after not quite doing that first start sequence a little while ago very well.
Heading towards the 2-minute and 10-second mark, which will then allow Luna Rossa the port entry into the pre-start area, and then at 2 minutes INEOS will be allowed to come in and start the joust.
No lower, no lower.
Yeah, that's it.
Good course.
Easy.
Luna Rossa is in.
Okay.
Both boats cautious coming into that starting box. We call the starting box. You have to cross over that red line, that starting line, and get down below it towards us at the bottom of our screen. That's what we call the starting box. That's where two boats jockey for position, really trying to screw up your opponent. You know, that's your whole goal in life, is to try to get between you and the opponent and the starting line.
Your wheel, my wheel.
So Ken, besides the obvious of not going out of bounds here for Ben Ainsley, what is his move to win this start?
Where we'll lay line tip.
Are you? All you're trying to do at this stage is judge whether Jimmy Spithill and Francesco Bruni are late, early, or on time from the start. He's in a dominant position, but he's got to have a good feel for where they are on their timing sequence heading back to the starting line.
Coming up here. Yep.
60 seconds to restart race 2, round robin 2. Ben Ainsley picked up a penalty for a boundary penalty the last time out.
Yep.
Behind again, so he thinks Luna Rossa is early, or he just wants the right-hand side. Luna Rossa puts the brakes on just to try to slow down and get him to catch up and get him in a tight spot.
But he tacked much earlier this time, which means he can't push, but I think he's late. I think Francesco Bruni and Jimmy Spithill turning back at the right time and make it really difficult for Ben Ainsley in this one.
Under 30 seconds to start. Listen to the chat on board. This is INEOS.
Coming up, a touch. Yep. Needs a touch.
Charge.
Yeah, we're just on time. Killing maybe one. That'll be right. Okay, got us racing now. Okay. Your wheel. My wheel on the out of this. Tacking out of this. Copy. Okay. Your wheel. Go. Going straight. Going straight. Going straight. Your wheel. Nice. Stand by tack.
Restart race 2, round robin 2. Luna Rossa, INEOS Team UK.
You know, Ainsley kind of got out of that a little bit, Nathan, but I'm surprised he hung on. He got a little greedy there for a second. He had a gap off of about 1 boat length to the right or to weather of PRADA, and all of a sudden, instead of we're going to tack out of this, guys, he tried to hold and actually fell back a length or two before they finally tacked.
Yeah, first time we've seen a bit of indecision from that team. Normally, last 2 days, they make a call, they stick to it. That time they changed their mind. They've made the first tack, and this is all going to be about which side of the course is going to be favoured as to who's going to be in front when they come back together.
Yeah, I think we sail to it.
On board Luna Rossa.
Stand by. 3, 2, 1. Pressure out of this.
Stephen, this is what, when we always refer to the first cross, winning and losing the start is almost irrelevant. It's almost like the clock at the marks. It's almost irrelevant. This is the relevance. This is what start sets up, is the first cross.
How do you read this first cross coming up, Nathan?
Get pressure on here now. Nice.
Well, let's let them tell us all about it, but it looks like Luna Rossa might just cross.
Just cross. Just cross.
Starboard take advantage to INEOS.
Take in.
Early call.
Got a stacking.
Take in. Ducking, yeah.
My wheel.
Your wheel.
Yeah, he ducked him, clearing transom 2-1 now. Okay, yeah, we're stretched out.
So the real question is this boat speed that took the lead? Because they were attacked behind, you know, they've done 2 attacks versus 1, or was that a shift? And are they in phase? You know, this wind is shifting left and right out there. Shirley, what do you see on the water? Was that speed or was that pressure?
In 10 seconds. I think we keep going though. Pressure okay this way, isn't it, Ben?
Well, I'm not certain. As you say, they did one more manoeuvre and they seem pretty keen to get to that right-hand side and to get in phase. It is shifty. The wind is up and down, and remember that it's coming off the land, which is really making it pretty unstable.
It has to be shifty, right? It has to be. It has completely, the breeze has taken a left turn from this morning, coming off the land. It's really an interesting part of these race courses. The boundaries and the narrowness of the course does not allow you sometimes even to spread out and really take full advantage of a shift. But when the boundary comes, you got to tack. And so it looks like they're a nice breeze up on the top of that dark water up there at the top of the screen, Nathan. It doesn't look so bad for the Italians right now.
Looks like they've taken the lead back here, but still a couple more tacks to go. And this is what's so interesting with these races is 1 minute one's in front. And you think, oh, we'll stay in phase, but no, they're just hitting the corners at the moment. They're just bouncing off these boundaries, and good chance of a split at the top of the course again.
Boat speed sitting around 33 knots, 34 knots of both these AC-75, so there's plenty of puff out there.
Shifty though. This is definitely wind shifts out there right now, Shirley. We can really see from the helicopter big dark streaks, and you don't get 2 passes like we've just seen in such a short period of time. Not just passes, but passes with big gaps without a wind shift, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, shift and velocity and pressure. Also, there's a lot of comms on board, so that gives you an indication there's a ton going on the racetrack.
3, 2, 1. A little lighter out of this, guys.
My rake, my drop. Puff in 2. 1, good puff here.
Starboard tack advantage would be to the boat at the top of the screen, which is INEOS Team UK, but I think the Italians, Stephen, look well clear coming into gate number 1.
So looks a little wide out of the mark to me.
More attention, early jibe, guys. Stand by, very away in 2.
Just like the first start of race number 2, Luna Rossa go around the top gate first, and they will be followed through. But a different mark rounding by INEOS Team UK. Last time it was 11 seconds. This time it's 10 seconds.
So the big question is who is in phase with this wind? Who is sailing less distance? Who's got more breeze? Boats are just splitting the course at the moment. They're not really staying in phase. It's a very different strategy this race that both boats are playing.
And when we talk about staying in phase, for those that are trying to get to grips with sailing in phase is?
Well, as you would know, if you were a golfer, as you would know, puffs come in from both sides of the course. The wind strength changes, but also directional changes. So it's really you're trying to play the 2 and stay in the most amount of breeze and have that angle working to your advantage to shorten the race course.
42 knots or thereabouts from INEOS Team UK, 40 knots by Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli.
Oh, good puff on now.
On board.
A little righty, but still got good pressure. Good pressure up here to windward. Copy.
Numbers.
It still blows me away when they're going 40-ish knots, let's call that 46 miles an hour or 74K amongst friends.
Stand by.
It's just the calmness, right? You just get used to it.
You just become immune to these kind of speeds. When you do it day in, day out, 40 knots is nothing for these guys. And I could see Jimmy Spittle there driving the boat, looking over his shoulder. Yeah, there's a bit more breeze coming, it's fine. We'll go a little further and jibe again. They're in front, so he's obviously a bit calmer. INEOS jibed on the far side there. I think that this race is starting to get a little bit closer. Shirley, what do you see on the water there?
We are right beside Luna Rossa. It's interesting you say, you know, you kind of get used to it. I was just thinking how stable that boat is, and we haven't said that for a little while, but my goodness, you know,
hard to see, mate.
really stable. I mean, it hardly moves the distance between the hull and the water. They actually look quick as well. The race course is kind of in two halves, softer at the top, more wind and more bumpy as they get to the second half.
My guys getting close.
Always going to be a lot more chatter as you're getting close to the gate. You got to decide a whole bunch of different things, and especially which mark on the gate you're going to go around. And that setup is always a huge factor on whether you can stay in phase with the boat behind you, or you're ending up with a big split.
Yep,
2, 1, or down.
Careful, big waves out of these drives.
As the voice of Jimmy Spittle saying, careful, that means don't fly too high because they don't want to jump out of the back of these waves. So it's chopping up as they get further down this track, exactly what Shirley was saying out there.
17 to the left turn. Okay. Nice turn. See what he does. Yeah, copy. Straight, it's probably quite good. Yeah, pressure looking better just like I can.
19.
Looks like we're going to have a split at the bottom marks here.
Number 3, 2, 1.
Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli maintain their lead in race 2, round robin 2. It was 10 seconds at the top gate. It's now 7 seconds at the bottom gate. So slight gain by INEOS.
And a split, even more importantly, a split. Now it's puffy and shifty out there. We saw in that first leg with 2 lead changes. Having a split is a very nervous moment if you're the boat in front.
Little press, just underhead a little.
Just gives the boat behind an opportunity to get by you. If they're following you, it's quite hard to make a pass unless you're quicker. But right now, INEOS heading out to that side, if they get a right-hand shift or if they get any more breeze, have more breeze than Luna Rossa, they'll have the starboard tack advantage on the way back and they could make a pass here.
If we go back to that first leg, because we're on leg 3 of 6, that's where Luna Rossa picked up some wind and made a huge gain on that first leg up on the right-hand side.
Well, INEOS doesn't look like they've gotten further behind right now. They actually have a pretty nice angle out there, keeping it close, waiting for Luna Rossa to make that one little mistake or waiting for that wind shift to help get you by.
Heading towards the halfway mark on race 2.
Close cross. Close cross. So gains for the Brits.
Well across for that shift. Okay, pressure on him.
Little shift right at the end there, Nathan.
Little shift that's Luna Rossa across. The big question is the breeze going to go right or left from here? If the breeze goes to the left as you look up the course, INEOS are going to take an advantage. If the breeze goes to the right, Luna Rossa get the advantage. If it doesn't change, the boats aren't going to change. You'll just stay the same distance ahead. But I'm just shocked that Luna Rossa aren't covering. Why they keep giving these opportunities is a bit beyond me. Match racing is all about getting in front of your competitor and staying between them and the mark.
Says the speed demon who in Bermuda was the guy splitting the course all the time. How things have changed.
Well, it's way more fun to split it up and it gives us something to talk about. But If we ever got far enough in front, Percy was always saying to me, tackle their face.
Okay. Little build here.
Yeah, I've got 10 righty there.
So 10 righty, that's Giles Scott talking about the actual directional shift of the wind. All these wind instruments on board are helping them keep track of where they are on a right-hand shift or a left-hand shift.
So what he really needs is a left-hand shift to get back into this one, otherwise they're going to make a bit of a loss here.
28 to boundary, I think we just dig into it so we don't sail straight back into the righty.
Yeah, copy. Press bottom straight. Okay, press bottom here.
Set up then. 13 seconds, my pitch.
Yeah. Okay, ready?
Splitting the breeze right now, Nathan. And
down.
if you're an Italian fan, you're hoping they can get across quick, but this is a real left-hand shift.
My wheel.
Pressure head around. Pressure around. 25s.
So now's a great moment if you're Luna Rossa to just tack on their face and sort of lock the race down. If they continue, they just keep giving opportunities.
We may have to duck it.
But it's getting close. I think they're going to not be flying off the head to tackle them, so I think we're going to see another split here.
That left-hand shift worked, and Luna Rossa barely gets across. I'm really surprised they didn't just
better pressure for us coming here though.
I think you need a bit more of a lead than that to do
better
it.
pressure out to sea the whole time.
They're just keeping the race alive and interesting for us.
Very bow up at times.
Heading towards the top gate and the completion of leg 3 of 6 in this second race of round robin 2 after a restart. After the initial race was abandoned at the bottom gate and leg number 4.
I wrecked my draft.
Who has got the advantage coming into this gate?
Well, I tell you what, if INEOS can do it in one from here, one more take,
good pressure here.
Good chance they're going to make quite a gain, and that's where the lead change might come.
That was a left-hand shift that you heard Giles Scott over about a minute and a half ago talk about. Let's sail into this all the way to the boundary. They felt their left shift. They wanted to not sail back out of it. This is a real left shift. If INEOS gets any tick back to the right, they're going to be well ahead, I think.
Shirley, what can you see? You're following them up the track.
We're on the left-hand side. There's more pressure out to sea, but yet the odd pop on the left. It's not a straightforward decision anyway.
Port starboard coming here. I feel INEOS have the advantage.
I don't know, mate. He's tacking underneath. Copy. It's going to be a split tack, right-hand turn. Copy. Right turn, split. Your wheel all the way through. Go. Board down now. Board down now. Board going down now.
Get on the puck, Charlie.
Okay. My pitch, Marco. My pitch.
2-1, clear.
Yeah.
Clear. Here we go. Very wide. Okay, slow the turn here.
Hang on.
Line here. Okay. Nice.
Finally, you can't talk about that stopwatch in the lower right-hand corner. Finally, we haven't seen a dead heat in a while, but Stephen, it's hard to make Stephen McIver speechless, and frankly, that just did, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a split again, though.
Even Stevens.
Holy smokes, another split. Listen, that was all about wind shifts. This is so good for the sport. These are 2 even boats, Nathan. These are 2 even boats that a wind shift is actually counting for everything out there in the race course.
So we're going to raise, but our apologies too for some colourful language coming up Luna Rossa. But this is a race and a half. No gap at the top gate. It was 7 seconds to Luna Rossa at the bottom gate. The top gate, leg 3, nothing. Even.
But look at this, that shift looks like it's gone left, and looks like INEOS are going to make the cross here. But what I was impressed about there was their tack, their bear-away execution. That is not an easy manoeuvre to do. Coming in at full speed, dropping the foil, turning around, coming back where you came from. We saw teams struggling to do that a couple of days ago. Pulling off manoeuvres when it counts is what takes the lead here. Now let's see what Giles Scott does and how he can shut this race down and give them no opportunities.
Back wave coming.
Yeah, nice work, boys. Pressure going back in 10.
So that's us just on intersection. He will not get to that right turn in one. Okay, stand by. Got my pitch. Your pitch.
We talked in the pre-start about Giles Scott being freed up to be a real full-time tactician. This race is showing me that that is exactly the case. He's a full-time tactician.
Yeah, he doesn't have to fly the boat or drive the boat. He's eyes out of the boat. And watch him start to play match racing tactics that maybe Jimmy and Bruni can't do because they're always focused on flying the boat.
I agree.
Nice there. Sorry, I should have given you the pressure inside there. It was slightly better. Copy. Okay, no learn that then. He jives. He's going to do left turn.
Yep. Drive up, boys.
Nothing at the top gate to complete leg 3 as we approach the bottom gate. Shirley, what do you make of this race?
Auto lap, 40.
There's so much going on the race course. I mean, it's so strong to have a dedicated tactician painting the picture the entire time. And we're not hearing those comms coming off PRADA. Whatever boat you're sailing, but especially if you're doing 38 knots down here, it's so crucial to have that, to have eyes out the boat.
Going forward. Nice there. My pitch. Nice. Over we go, one of them left. I don't love the 2 board roundups in this shop either, but happy either way. Copy. 38.
You know, it's really interesting. All these races, all these race courses have been influenced by land, and that means it's going to inherently be shiftier out on the water. And that lends itself. Now, if this is a flat-out, come-off the ocean, non-shifty breeze, then the Giles Scotts of the world are taken out of it a little bit. But not in this case.
And when you're in Auckland, there is plenty of land on every course, and it's all about sailing smart. And, you know, I said earlier, it's a speed race. I think I'm wrong. I think it's a tactician.
Okay, we're in. 2, 1. And up. Yep.
INEOS Team UK rounding the bottom gate to complete 4 legs of 6, and it is an official lead change. They were behind 10 seconds at the first, 7 at the second, nothing at the third, and now they are building a lead on Rossa.
2, 1, running up.
Good.
26 seconds the gap from INEOS to Rossa. Gotta love that clock.
So once again we have a split. Boats go different marks, but this is a pretty substantial lead.
One board down.
And they're going to tack right on the boundary here. I was shocked. I thought Giles Scott might have tacked earlier to get in phase, so that on the next tack they could tack right on their face. But maybe he's seen pressure on the left that we in the commentary box can't see.
Give a couple. Yeah. 3, 2, 1, board down. On the breeze, yep.
This is a big cross in this.
We are clear across.
Okay, middle speed build there. Nice.
Yeah. Breeze just holding it this left, isn't it? Yeah. Fading a little bit.
The question is that looks like quite a substantial lead.
We're about 30 lengths across.
Do they go past or do they tack on their face?
Yeah, we'll just tack on him. Yeah, I think we go in 20 or so here. Yeah. Yeah. Set up.
Crossing.
Yeah, anytime here. 2, 1, board down. Turn it. Again, board. My pitch. My wheel. Yeah, getting lighter here, guys. Nice.
Okay.
Commentary from off these boats is priceless. You can just hear, again, for all you sailors back at home, what a conversation between a tactician and a helmsman should sound like.
How's pressure, we think, this way, Ben? Yeah, it's okay. I don't think we want to go too far. Looks like there's pressure at about 20. Copy. We'll use that. He's back on port now.
Okay, we'll give a tiny bit here.
Yeah. Up on the bow. A bit of pressure now. Better pressure this way, isn't it? Just going right.
Hit breeze here.
It's that balance between sailing your opponent and sailing the breeze and trying to work out which one you want.
But remember, in all the previous racing in that Christmas series, Ainsley could never look around because he was always fighting the boat. Here he is actually looking around the race course right now, and the boat is kind of sailing itself a little bit. If a boat going 40 knots can ever sail itself, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. When the boat is in its groove and you've got the guys flying the boat at the correct height, the trimmers are trimming the sails spot on for you, the rudder gets light, and the boat kind of just tracks and goes where it wants to go. So now Ben can help Giles about where we want to go, and if they've got good speed, they're in good shape. But this angle, he looks like Luna Rossa aren't going away.
Trimming up, boys, when you can. Yeah, it'll come.
He's got a marginal one and in right turn.
No more than that. Little build, guys. How far ahead are we?
Good lead, and now what the tacticians are doing is talking about that race course geometry. Which side do they want to escape this top gate towards? Where do they think the pressure is?
I think he's going to have to go. He'll be lucky to get the right turn from there, I think.
Big lefty here for us at the moment.
I think he might get that.
Okay, stand by here.
Crossing. Wiped it.
Oh, what do you think?
Big lefty is a left-hand shift out of the race course. Breeze has gone to the left. They like it, but they're not going to give that other boat. They're not going to let that other boat out of their sights. Even though they're in a left-hand shift, Stephen, in a typical world, they would have continued because eventually, hopefully, it goes back to the right. They just want to keep control of their competitor right now. This is absolutely a match racing decision and not a wind shift decision.
In pressure.
Yeah. Can't get on Giles up well.
Similar speeds by both teams as they head towards the top gate for the last time in race 2, round robin 2. And INEOS Team UK, after being 10 seconds behind, are now in front, and we'll check on the margin as they go around the top gate for the final time.
Yeah, we've got to hook up into that pressure.
Copy.
Let's get a bit further.
Yeah, I pitch Giles. Yeah, yours. Lay line in 4.
Yeah, it's setting up then.
Crossing. Get pressure out of this. I think this is a lefty, but let's be sure of it. Okay, I'm ready.
Hey, Giles.
Yeah, mine.
Okay. 2, 1, board down. A bit slow here.
Good.
Okay, back out of this a bit. Okay, that's course.
My wheel.
Slightly overstood.
Yeah, fine. Stop it in fat here. Okay, main on.
So when they say overstood, that means they've gone a little bit too far with the ley line, but I think they wanted to make sure they went a little bit further, get that pressure and come into the mark and avoid that tack. But in doing so, they've actually given Luna Rossa a chance to get a few metres back on here. It's all about who's going to have the best pressure out of this top half.
Use that right to ease in.
Little comeback by the Italians. This race is not over. This is a one-mistake race right now, Stephen.
INEOS Team UK around the top gate for the final time. Their advantage at the last gate was some 26 seconds.
2, 3, 1,
that lead has been cut. 12 seconds now. Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli are not going away.
Boundary in 15.
There's angle. Copy.
Yeah.
Scary moment for the Brits. Complete split on the race course right now. And honestly, a great moment for the Italians. At this stage, you got to take a little chance, although it looks like they're sailing into pressure right in front of them.
My wheel. Okay, building.
Check out the powerhouses going there. These guys have only got the 6 grinders, remember,
Hold the angle, Giles. Got
so
it.
that they can have more people dedicated to flying and trimming the boat to free up Giles Scott to make these decisions. So bet you they're lucky, they're happy they've only got one race today, those 6 grinders.
You can imagine the grinder saying, yeah, thanks for that, Ben.
Yeah, we don't have to tack on them, don't worry. Can we just stretch it out to the other side of the race course? Nice gain by INEOS. They choose the gate at the top mark correctly, apparently at this stage, and pop out to a little bit bigger lead.
Pressure looks all right here. Average heading.
Copy. I don't think he'll get one and in to finish there. Take a little
hour coming down here on the water. Is there an opportunity here, wind-wise, for Luna Rossa to get back into this one?
Oh. Nathan, I mean, to me, INEOS now looks like they're on the right jive. There's quite a lot of pressure coming from the left-hand side of the track, they look in the best spot. I think also when we're talking about INEOS, only having 6 grinders allows them to have 2 pilots, Luke Parkinson and Lee McMillan. So you know they're stable all the time. Whatever's going on, they've got 2 guys working on it, and that, in a day like today, it's a massive bonus.
Michelle, that's a good point, particularly in these waves, having dedicated flight controllers. You know, it's a big deal, and I'm just impressed with how they turned this around. That race that got abandoned, they were on the back foot, and they've got back into this after trailing on the first lap.
Lost both starts today, and still have a nice little lead, but again, it's a 1 mistake lead. You splash down and get caught off your foils, or you get out of phase here badly, and things could get close very quickly. But they're running out of time on the Italian boat. They are running out of time.
Splashdown by Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli coming home. Not what they wanted. As you can see, INEOS Team UK setting up for the final jibe for the finish.
Finish line. Let's go easy on the turn right on these couple of jibes.
Yeah, copy. One more jibe to go here, boys.
Yeah.
Further here.
Okay, set up.
Happy? Crossing.
Happy?
Ready?
Happy?
Yes.
2, 1 board down. Turning. Nice and smooth. Nice.
Okay, good.
Going board.
Good that. My wheel.
My pitch.
Good switch. Okay, building here. This is course. Copy.
Right down a touch.
One and in, Stephen. Looks easy now. Take her home.
Okay, a bit 2 more turn up.
So after a restart and a reset, it's turned into a peach.
Okay, awesome.
For INEOS Team UK, they go 4-0 in the PRADA Cup Challenger Series.
Okay, turning up. Nice work, gents.
Very good work, guys. Come on. Awesome effort there.
And in come Luna Rossa. 18 seconds the margin. And now they have to rethink because they've got another race to come. But boy, oh boy, INEOS 4-0.
3 passes in that race. As a fan of sailing, that's all you can ask for. Blowout victories are no fun to talk about in the booth, Nathan, or no fun to really watch, no matter how fast the boats are. This is boat racing. These boats have all gotten really close in speed, and a 3-pass race is reasonably rare and a lot of fun.
Yeah, it didn't look like there was a huge speed difference between those 2 boats. It came down to who was picking those shifts, executing the maneuvers, and hats off to Giles Scott, Ben Ainsley, and the whole crew for pegging that one back.
Confirmation of the result of race 2 in round robin 2, and INEOS Team UK with an 18-second win over the challenger of record. INEOS Team UK are unbeaten so far.
Well, this came back to that pushing versus leading moment in time. And again, Ben Ainsley decides to go beyond Jimmy Spithill, who is the starting helmsman here when they're on starboard tack, go beyond and decide to start pushing back toward the line. That means he thinks that Spithill is probably a little early and vulnerable. But again, Spithill does a nice job slowing the boat down, getting himself into position. This looks a little scary for INEOS, but it's actually a reasonably dominant position for this reason. Look at that. You just suck right up. The boat on the left comes right up and forces Ainsley into attack away. Initial advantage goes to PRADA. But after a couple passes, pass once, pass twice, it's back to PRADA again. We think we have a super even boat race from a boat speed standpoint. Nathan, this race is all about the wind shifts.
It was about the wind shifts, and it was about if you're in front, trying to get in phase, you know, staying close to the other team. And this is the moment here where Luna Rossa don't have a big enough lead to tack. INEOS are on a left-hand shift. They're on the lifted tack. They're doing less distance. That's critical in these races. You've got to get in phase with the wind speed and the wind direction. And as we get to the top, Well, what do we have? We have a dead heat, but this maneuver is what impressed me the most. The tack, rolling into a bearaway and going back where you came from, where you made that gain, setting up the split, and now it's Mother Nature, you know? Is it the left side of the course, the right-hand side of the course? Who's going to come out best out of this? And as we go further down the run, you'll see what happens, that INEOS have taken the lead. And at this moment now, it's just a balance. Do you sail the competitor or do you sail the wind? And they mixed it nicely. Came through the finishing line with a nice, comfortable win in the end.
18 seconds, the race win for INEOS Team UK. Thumbs up, congratulations, back slaps, why not? On a day where the wind conditions have been all over the place, they have controlled it in race number 2 and are simply 4-0. Auckland City looking glamorous in a gloomy Sunday afternoon, but there's certainly not been gloomy on the race course for INEOS Team UK. They continue to be the story of the PRADA Cup Challenger Series. You get the impression that they want to go straight into that PRADA Cup final. Here are the numbers, lads.
I was going to predict we saw really close boat speeds. I'm actually a little surprised the UK boat speed downwind especially, but it's distance sailed, right? Wow, distance, yeah, so it's the downwind boat speed that really made the big difference here, Nathan. The distance sailed actually was a little more for the Brits. These are surprising numbers. That downwind boat speed really kind of looks like that's the only telling number of the whole group.
Yeah, absolutely. Like everything else is pretty similar. An extra tack, same number of jibes. What is that? That's about 500 meters less that they sailed, 450 meters less. Sorry, more. So
yeah,
therefore it's the downwind speed that's got them there.
That's incredible. So as we look at this, the Brits are the yellow-orange line and the green line are the Italians. We see the highs and lows of the speeds, and that's what we're looking for, the highs and lows. Are there any dramatic differences between those highs and lows? I think as the boats get more stable and we don't see big mistakes, you really see kind of a even boat races. In fact, but the Brits had a slightly higher average, that dotted yellow line, a slightly higher average boat speed, and therefore that's the win. And it was that downwind boat speed that we were talking about. That downwind boat speed proved to be kind of the dominant factor in the race for the Brits.
Let's take a look at the key moment, because this will make you smile, and that rounding at the gate when INEOS caught up too.
Well, here, the telling sign here was the incredible, as Nathan called, the incredible tack bear-away maneuver they did. But watch the boat speeds in the lower left-hand corner. The Brits do this really hard maneuver and actually round the mark, going essentially the same speed as the other boat. So not only did they do this really, really difficult maneuver, but they rounded with pace, and they were in a proper wind shift. They were in a good wind shift, had good pressure, and they were crossing next time the two boats came back together again.
2, 1, 4 down. Okay, look, you have a switch now. Can't see, I'm really struggling to see where he's coming. Go number 20,
INEOS Team UK, they are the team to beat. You cannot get away from it now. I don't care what anyone says, Kenny, 4-0. Catch me if you can.
I think unsung hero right now is Giles Scott. Forget the fact that the engineers and designers have done a masterful job. Sailmakers, sail designers, everybody getting this boat to be competitive compared to what we saw. But Giles Scott has proven to be a race winner at this stage. Nathan?
Yeah, absolutely. It's super impressive to watch, and they're going to go home happy today.
They have been happy for the last 4 races, and why would they be? The completion of round robin 2 not too far away. You know, they say the America's Cup is an obsession. We've seen it all, but no one knows that better than Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli's Max Sirena. This is his 7th campaign. He's held the old mug aloft twice, once for America and one for Team New Zealand, but never for Italy. It's a bit of a sore point, which he's determined to rectify this time round.
When you explain to people America's Cup is actually one of the oldest, actually the oldest trophy in sport, people doesn't even, most of the people, they don't even know that. But on the same time, if it's still here after more than 100 years, there is something cool behind that. When the first America's Cup Italian team has been involved with Azzurra many years ago, it was my dream to be involved in the Cup, and mainly because Chino Ricci, which was the leader of the team, was a hero for me when I was a kid. You know? I want to be like this guy. You know? When you're kids, you want to be a fireman, you want to be a soccer player. I was pretty clear idea of what I was looking for in my career. I was never expect to arrive to this level, but it was my dream, and I did everything I could to create the opportunity to arrive here, and that is the reason why you get addicted. I mean, this is my 7th campaign, and at the end of each campaign, I'm always saying why and keep doing that. And but it's, yeah, I give the blood for the boat for sure.
There's blood, someone's been hit. There's injury on board PRADA. Head injury, someone has been injured. There's a lot of blood there.
We catch a massive plastic bag in the keel. It was the beginning of my thinking of save the ocean, no? That day. So we had this long button with a curve following the hull shape. We catch a wave, and basically the guy jumped on the deck and he hit me with the hook, with the titanium hook on my head. And, I mean, it's part of the deal. I mean, I've been lucky. It could be get worse.
It's Max Sirena on board PRADA. He's had a crack to the head.
The next racing day, I think one of the All Blacks guys, I don't remember how he came to the base, but they gave me this rugby helmet. And they say, well, you have to wear this for... And I remember I put this on, and then after 5 minutes, I took it off. I think the Cup is unique. It takes everything from you, and you give everything you have to the campaign, to the team you're working with. So, I mean, I won the Cup twice. I did 7 campaigns. The only thing I'm missing is to win the Cup with an Italian team and with Luna Rossa. It will be a closed loop. Now you close a circle. At the moment, I'm nothing. I won with another team, which is great. And it's been an amazing experience, both time with Team New Zealand, with Oracle. But to be real and to be a real win, I want to win with Luna Rossa.
The passion oozing out of that man on the tender boat at the paws of Max Sirena. So Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli, they're doing double duty today, Kenny. They haven't bagged one, but they need to bag another against American Magic, which isn't too far away.
Triple duty, right? I mean,
yeah, of course.
They had one race that was over 2/3 of the way done before 2/3 of the way done, exactly 2/3 before it got bagged. So, oof. Hope the gym has been good to these boys over the last couple of years, because they're going to need it in this next race.
A little over 15 minutes to go to race start for race number 3 in round robin number 2 to complete that round robin phase, with American Magic up next against Luna Rossa. As you heard Nathan and Ken talk, one of the key men for INEOS is Giles Scott. In the past, the INEOS tactician was one of Sir Ben Ainsley's fiercest rivals. Now he's a valued teammate, and just like his boss, he's determined to help make history and bring the old mug back to Britain.
I've been sailing with Ben for a lot of years, 13 odd. We were racing against one another, and we were part of the British sailing team together. The Olympics is a pretty brutal world. Only one person goes and represents their nation per country. and we were vying for one spot for 2012. Ben was obviously successful in that and went on to do great things there. And yeah, I mean, we've always had a very good relationship, even when we were racing. And fortunately, he thought I was the right sort of person to join the team in 2014.
Sir Ben Ainsley, who is desperate to put this campaign on a proper footing.
I joined for the Cup in Bermuda. For me personally, the Bermuda Cup was a bit more about proving where we could get to from where we'd started. It was a bit odd because we knew that we were a little bit behind the curve there. It was a bit of an odd time, but I think it brought the team really close together.
The 166-year wait to win the Cup. It goes on.
That was the best we sailed today by a long way.
And I suppose it was an uphill battle. You know, I suppose going through a bit of adversity together helped.
Eliminated by the New Zealanders who've delivered the knockout punch to the British challenge.
But hopefully those foundations are done and behind us now, and we're in a position now where we can really focus in on trying to win this thing this time around. This is an amazingly new concept. I'm really enjoying sailing these boats, especially in the role that I have on board. On the books, I'm a tactician, but on this boat, I fulfill a range of roles, from grinding, a bit of steering, a bit of tactical help, a bit of performance help. So yeah, there's a lot for me to get my teeth into, which I really enjoy.
A little bit lighter here. Yeah, copy. Better. I think we're good going this.
For us being a British team, it gives us a special aura. It's, you know, we've not won it. It was first competed in 1851, and obviously went away to America and has never come back since. So to be part of a British challenge is special for a number of reasons. You know, firstly being British, but also trying to write the history books, I suppose. It's just another string to the bow that motivates us to try and win the cup.
Giles Scott, we've just been listening to, huge influence in the last race win by INEOS, Nathan Outridge.
Yeah, massive, having a guy like that on the back of the boat, helping steer the team back into that race. You know, they had the work cut out for them, and Giles stayed calm, picked a couple of shifts, got them back into the race, and love to have him behind me when I'm driving a boat.
There's really nothing else to say. Unsung hero of this event so far is Giles Scott.
And that is why INEOS Team UK are 4-0, and the team that you can see on your screen right now, American Magic, are, as we would say, under the cosh, 0-3. They are heavily backed. We're heavily favoured coming to the PRADA Cup, and they have got a big task in front of them today. So to Luna Rossa as well. They're the challenger of record. To win the Cup, you need the fastest boat, the best designers, the strongest team, and the ability to beat Mother Nature. The wind gods can turn victory into defeat with just one puff, which is why you need the weatherman.
Everything this team does revolves around the weather. So from the training to the design to the actual competition itself, every aspect is touched by meteorology. And we play a pretty critical role in kind of sorting through the weather and making sure the team is taking advantage of it to the best of their ability. Boats need to be optimized for the most likely weather conditions. And so my role is to develop that history, that wind history, to sort of optimize the focus of the design of the boat to the wind conditions we're most likely to see here in Auckland.
The weather here in Auckland is complicated because we have lots of terrain to deal with and a relatively small landmass, and it's kind of a north-south strip, and the prevailing westerlies are going across it. So weather crosses this country very quickly. Things change very quickly, and also we have the mountains and Rangitoto, the volcano, which is smack dab in the middle of the course area. So the winds here swirl about, and they are pretty complicated.
Well, it's basically the two predominant winds, which are southwesterlies and northeasterlies. On northeasterlies is quite geographic, especially just channels around and bends through the Rangi Channel and through North Head. And then with southwesterlies, it's more about shiftiness and puffiness. So that's there's kind of two winds which are kind of different in quality of the wind you get. The typical early decision that we can make is what cell selection is obviously the first one. There's the early morning forecast, which is more generic, so it's about the conditions we can expect, it's about just preparation. And then as it gets closer to race, it's more about wind ranges, any features that we can see on the race course. And obviously, if we can know the best way to start a race, and starting in a controlling position, that gives a tactical advantage to the team that gets it right. So in that sense, as accurate as we can be is the important bit.
My challenge is not so much winning the cup as it is winning over Mother Nature. And so for me, that's really where I feel if I get that forecast right, that's a job well done for me.
The weather plays its part, and it also plays the part in what jib decision you are going to play with in the race. It looks like American Magic is making a late change. We'll follow this one with interest. Race 3, round robin 2, and a team under pressure.
New York Yacht Club's American Magic. It's really rare so early in an event to say this might be kind of an important race, but it's getting close to that point, even if it's only for the psyche of the team and their supporters. Perceived as the PRADA Cup pre-regatta favorite, Lion Air Vulnerability has certainly gotten their regatta run off to a surprisingly tough start. Today seems a bit different, though, away from that unpredictable stadium course, yet the Union is being tested for this afterguard of Hutchinson, Barker, and Goodison. Time to turn the tide.
We're very much looking forward to this race today, especially after a very patchy course yesterday. And, you know, our boat is primed and ready to go and very good in these conditions, so we just got to execute today, and everybody's feeling pretty good about it.
And this team is trying to make it a Super Sunday.
Well, Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli are coming off another loss, and they need to turn this day around somehow. Jimmy and Bruni won the start against INEOS, but were not able to shut the race down. Now they are up against Dean Barker and American Magic, and they need to not make the same mistake again. In this series, every point counts, and points is what they need.
But obviously, every point counted the first one that we missed, counted yesterday one. Obviously, today is a Super Sunday for us because we have 2 races and 2 points there that have to be taken. And we will try to push hard enough to come back home and have something to celebrate.
It is the race that will complete round robin phase number 2, race 3, American Magic, and the challenger of record, Rossa, PRADA Pirelli. And that's a situation where American Magic fans don't want to see it. I don't know we're well away from the start of this race, but that's not what they want to be. They don't want to be becalmed. I actually want to go down to Shirley Robertson in our chase boat, because Shirley, really late change on the jib for American Magic. What did you make of that?
Well, we just watched that feature on the Weatherman about the meteorologist that the teams have. You know, it's a big decision, but they're getting data from probably the other side of the North Island. They know what's coming, and they're leaving that decision as late as possible. This is a big race for this team, Stephen, where, you know, the last race was a real vindication for a lot of the decision-making on the British boat. I mean, the fact that they decided to design the whole drivetrain to free up their talent. On this boat, they've done the opposite. I mean, I'm really hoping that they come out and show the talent that they've got, that we hear good communications, good tactical decisions. But this race course is difficult. We've seen that, and it's about joining the dots. It's about sailing well. It's about getting your head out of the boat.
Thank you, Shirley. Well, here we go. Kenny, American Magic, they are a team under pressure. There is no denying that. What do you want to see today from this boat?
I want to see a good start, first of all. Good start. Just strong decision-making by Dean Barker in the start. He has struggled to get off the starting line, albeit it's been, you know, light, weird conditions, but timing hasn't been perfect at times. Let's see a good start and then let the boat do its thing. On the other hand, Nathan, you know, Luna Rossa, we make a lot of, hey, the physical part of they just sailed, but now they know the race course right now, right? They know the race course better than anybody. They just went around it, so they should have a pretty good idea of what they're looking for to try to stay in phase with the wind shifts.
I'd almost think they've got the advantage. They've done 1.5 races, and they know where the shifts are, whereas American Magic, well, they've just been watching. They've just been, you know, hoping that they can work it out. But I think there's a bit of an issue with Luna Rossa. I think they're having some software issues right now. I've been hearing them trying to communicate with the race committee.
You heard Jimmy Spittle a moment ago saying, where is the race start? 2 minutes and 19 seconds and counting. It'll be American Magic with port entry, Luna Rossa with starboard entry, and American Magic allowed to enter at 2 minutes and 10 seconds, and 2 minutes, of course, for Luna Rossa.
Both boats are way out of position right now, aren't they?
Wow. We really wanted Dean Barker to be on time on this when he's anything but on time. Over 20 seconds late, but the amazing thing is, well, yeah, Luna Rossa, we're going to see a dial-up. We could see an easy starboard tack, the boat on the right-hand side on starboard tack.
Coming.
Oh, tripping over themselves.
Ready, flag. Flag.
Oh.
More down.
Dial down.
Coming back up, coming up.
Protest by the Italians. We're going to see the Americans in trouble here right now, is my guess.
But Luna Rossa off the foil.
Big truck race.
Take off.
Stand speed here.
Forget about him. We just take off.
Again, please. Yeah, take
Crossing.
Big easy.
Another bad pre-start entry by American Magic. 3 in a row now.
Both boats are off the foils.
Stand by. Bearing away. Boards down.
Who can get up on the foils first? And there's plenty of breeze out there, and Luna Rossa already is.
Tack on ley line, probably Kiko.
Something's going on that American boat to have them so out of sync coming in, and no, so they must have deemed that Luna Rossa was moving and didn't give the other guys the opportunity to stay clear, but I'm shocked at that.
Well, now that both boats are up on foil, even still, you know, American Magic are up high, they're going to jibe into position. PRADA are going to be tacking into position. It's all about time on distance for both boats here.
Time on distance, if the Italians do this right, they should have the advantage.
Attacking.
20 seconds to go to race start of race 3 and round robin 2. Messy all over the place at the beginning of this pre-start, but now it is race start. 10 seconds and counting.
Okay, bearing away a little. Full speed, go. Go.
Clear start.
You heard Jimmy Spittle say it. Full speed, go, and we are underway. The final race in round robin phase 2. This is race number 3. We're on board American Magic, trailing Luna Rossa out of the gate.
Yeah, well, once again, American Magic, just bad setup for these entries. It's the third time in a row that they've fallen off the foils in the pre-starting.
The lull in the middle,
and you can't be
nice streak coming
happy
down
with
the
that,
right
can you?
side. There's also one on the bow in about 40.
A little drag race, American Magic hanging in there in a really vulnerable spot, but eventually PRADA has the ability to tack. They're going to go into this zone, and the Americans have to give them the opportunity, but oh, they're...
Looks like he tacked early. Tacked early ahead of the boundary with confidence that they were going to make that cross.
One more down. And turning.
These races are showing to be more interesting by the moment. They're fooling us both here, Nathan.
Fooling each other as well while they're at it.
Why would the PRADA boat have tacked early there? I don't quite understand.
Okay, I got a theory. Maybe they're still struggling with software. That's all I can say right now. I did hear them chatting before the start that maybe they're not confident in their boundary software and they're trying to do it off the lights as opposed to software on the boat. That's my only thing I can think of. Shirley, you're on the water. How does it look from your perspective at the moment?
Yeah, I think you must be right, Nathan, because we're on the left-hand side of the course. It's a massive, big, black crowd. There's lots of wind. The wind has gone left also. It's almost like a sign on the water, you know, go left. So I'm sure they must have some sort of issue.
So, Shirley, they've given up this left-hand side of the track and effectively given the strong side to their competitor. It looks like American Magic have taken the lead. You can see in this picture overhead, dark water, both boats are in it, but Rossa are about to sail out of it. You know, it's lighter at the top of our screen. And breeze is up, you know, we're reading, what, 16, 18 knots on the boats here right now, so it's definitely windier than the race we had before.
Nathan, this is more wind than we've seen for a long time, and it's really dark over the land. I think maybe even more wind to come from that left-hand side.
Tight cross coming here.
4 down and turning.
That's a beautiful lee bow, isn't it?
Hopefully we're going to be able to go to a 3D shot at some stage here and take a look at it. Again, I think they tacked early on the boundary. But man, oh man, American Magic just put themselves in a dominant position. Don't get too slow if you're Dean Barker, but you like the control of the situation right now, that's for sure.
Standing by, Goody. Standing by. Cross it.
Oh, Luff coming in, big Luff. Oh, close. That's quite aggressive by Jimmy Spittle there, and I think it backfired on him.
I'll stay here, Goody. Turning down at 5, 4, 3, 2.
Protest by the Italians for a luff. This ought to be interesting.
Top gate for the first time, and it's American Magic around the mark first, followed closely by Rossa, 6 seconds behind.
Straight into a jibe out of that top mark for Rossa and PRADA Pirelli, so already trying to get over to that favoured side that Shirley spotted. Shirley, is that pressure still over there?
Come up, fish.
Yeah, an increase in pressure and also long on this jibe. So absolutely, tactically, the right thing to do was early jibe.
Wrong. Settle the mud down, boys.
Limit, come up.
No penalty on the luff. They took a long time to talk about that one, though, didn't they, Nathan?
So explain the penalty on the no penalty on the luff.
Well, Jimmy Spithill, like Nathan called, did a very aggressive maneuver. They were the leeward boat there, the boat downwind from American Magic. Maybe we can see it on a replay in a second here, but they did a quick aggressive maneuver. This is after that luff, but they did a quick aggressive maneuver and pushed their button. Said to the jury, hey, we think they fouled us. I don't think they did. I think they were plenty clear, but may as well go for it. It was aggressive, though.
Well, if you don't want aggressive, it's going to come from Jimmy Spittle. No denying that.
So the early jibe doesn't look like it paid off. It looks like, if anything, they've lost a little bit of distance, and
team.
Let's just go back and have a look at the replay once again of this luff that happened on the first beat. So Jimmy Spittle to leeward here.
To the right.
He has the right of way, and he's going to come up quite aggressively here in a second. Here he goes. He starts coming up, trying to luff Dean Barker. Boats don't get close enough. I'm thinking that's why the green flag came eventually, but that little luffy, you see him coming up. Listen on board.
Traveling up.
Okay, stand by.
I don't know. I think he was clutching at straws there, to be honest.
That's called a Hollywood. That means you're kind of acting into that one, and you're hoping to fool somebody. We didn't get fooled, that's for sure. The jury, Richard Slater and his team clearly made the right decision there.
Look at that rain on the onboard shot. There's plenty of rain coming across the course. Shirley, we're going to get wet out there soon.
We're getting wet. I can confirm we're getting wet. And more, the wind's gone more to the left, so it's been really hard for American Magic to get back over. Just watching them jibe now. They made a good gain. I mean, they have been fast on this downwind leg.
Probably JK.
I like how you said we getting wet.
We're a team.
2, 1. Here we go.
Bottom gate for the first time, and American Magic in conditions that are challenging everyone. Getting around it. It was 6 seconds at the top gate.
Building speed here for the tack, 20 to boundary.
And 13 seconds at the bottom, so they've made a wee gain.
One board down.
Both boats rolling straight into attack out of the bottom mark. Dean Barker here, along with tactician Terry Hutchinson, will be not letting them get a sniff into this race. But having said that, bit of leverage out to the right-hand side for Luna Rossa. Any right-hand shift now is a gain for Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli, and they could be back in this one in a jiffy.
Surely it's from our vantage point, though, all kidding aside, it looks squally out there. Little rain squalls, big wind shifts. Is there anything that's predictable at this stage?
Well, it's rain. The left-hand side of the course, it's raining and it's dark and it's windy and it's sunny on the right-hand side. Got lots of weather here in New Zealand. I can confirm that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you would think you would protect the left-hand side where the rain is, but we'll see how it rolls.
Tactician Terry Hutchinson also in his grinding duties. There's been plenty of that has been made of this.
If he tacks here, Terry, do we lead him back to the left?
There's Dean Barker asking him his decision.
Strong, getting stronger left.
Where do they want to go on the race course?
Big left shift at the moment. Yeah.
Much better boat speed mode.
He's struggling with his comms, I think. Dean keeps asking him questions, and I didn't see Terry's lips moving there, so it's like he doesn't hear him.
Either he doesn't hear him or he's thinking hard about it. Took his sunnies off. He's trying to get a better look.
Yeah, I think his comms are out, and we're not hearing them probably.
Now, so I'm happy where we are.
Yeah, he's boundary light on, standing by, Goody.
Luna Rossa very close to that boundary on that far side.
Boundary penalty Italy. Boundary penalty Italy.
There you go, out of bounds. That's going to be expensive. That's not what you need when you're behind.
It's going to be fascinating to find out after this race is over whether their comms
Italy, you have about 1 boat length to go.
Are working. We've seen a couple shaky situations where including the very first tack of the race, where Luna Rossa tacked in kind of a weird spot, and it almost kind of looks like you called, Nathan, that they don't know exactly where the boundary is on that onboard computer.
Well, it definitely looked like on that first tack that they tacked too early, and they really sort of handed the advantage of that left-hand side of the course to American Magic. You can see in the background here, American Magic steaming out to the left-hand side of the track, over to that pressure and to the good, strong pressure on the left-hand side of the course.
Ripping
upwind at the moment.
Okay, standing by here. We're getting close to boundary. Yeah, copy. 2, 1, board down. Turning. Really nice
Heading towards the halfway point in this third race, the final race in round robin 2 between American Magic, desperate for their first win of the PRADA Cup, against Luna Rossa, who have one in the bag, and are hoping today to pick up another 2, but beaten by INEOS in the earlier race.
Copy that.
But I've got to say one thing. These crews are working hard.
Super hard. And that left side of the race course, like Shirley called, clearly dominant. Follow the rain squall when in doubt, and that's apparently what these guys have done and developed a nice little lead.
Pace it up.
Pacing it up, copy.
Coming down, please. Coming down. Rounding in 3, 2, 1.
American Magic at the top gate for the second time. They led by 13 seconds at the bottom. Have Luna Rossa made any gains on the upwind leg?
Touched 48 knots going around that corner. Nearly 60 miles an hour.
I think Chicago, he looks like he's going light over there.
Yes.
No gains. The deficit increases for Luna Rossa to 27 seconds, losing 14 seconds on the upwind leg.
That was all that left-hand side. Dean Barker, Terry Hutchinson just protecting that side. They went around the bottom arc, went further, got onto the boundary, and every time Jimmy and Bruni tried to get back out to the left, they just face them, just send them back to the wrong side. And if you keep sailing like that, you're not going to let them have a sniff.
At some stage, we're going to have to ask Jimmy Spithill why they call that maneuver when they go around the mark, put both boards down and roll into a jibe. Why is it called a Chicago?
We definitely need to find out the reason behind that.
Shirley on the water. American Magic looks strong today.
They do, Stephen, and I'm curious to see the analysis, the stats when the race is over, because to me it looks like they've got wheels, they've got a little bit of extra, both upwind and downwind, and when they get free from the other boat, they do seem to be extending.
Currently rocking it around 42, 43 knots. They, as Nathan say, are steaming on this race course. I like to call it honking down the course. They're honking.
You could use lots of different words for going fast, couldn't you? But let's put it this way. Those small foils that were their Achilles heel yesterday are coming into their own today. And the breeze is 15, 16 knots, gusting a little bit more than that. And this is when that team knows they're going to be fast. Everyone knows that they're a quick team here, and they're making the most of it, aren't they?
Saw a big dark cloud over Dean Barker's right shoulder. They're still going to be looking at that left side of the race course.
Very, very light beyond Ian. Yeah, I don't think we go too far here. No, definitely not. He's going to have to watch him out of the tank. Probably turning up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
American Magic around the bottom gate. It was 27 seconds at the top gate. What will the gap to Luna Rossa be here?
Okay, standing by. Crossing. Copy.
Well, I suspect it's going to grow because American Magic did that downwind in 1 jibe. They went boundary, jibe, laid in, and Luna Rossa are going to have to do it in 3 jibes. So each maneuver is going to cost you time around the racetrack. And
that big left-hand shift, it's almost a fetch at this stage. It's not quite a fetch, but that big left-hand shift has certainly made this a one-sided racetrack.
Very much a follow-the-leader course, isn't it?
2 board round up this one. 3, 2, 1. Okay, turning up.
Luna Rossa 42 seconds behind at the 4th gate. You heard Jimmy Spithill go, oh, and I think for a moment there, you saw how close they were to that marker, but went, oh, hang on a minute.
They were close. The outside wing of that fin, that starboard side fin was close. Nathan, these guys have a bunch of times they've seemed almost skittish in this race. We were talking about how smooth they were in the first race in the breeze. It's flatter water. They should be even smoother, you would think, but every once in a while they look like they're kind of tripping, like almost skittish on the water. I wonder if they do have an internal problem.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's not the same boat that we saw in the first race that got abandoned. It's definitely not the same boat that we saw in the race earlier today. And a bit of head scratching going on in that program right now, I could imagine. Shirley, you're on the water. You're following them around closely. Can you verify that Luna Rossa are struggling more than what they were in the previous race?
Yeah, I mean, the boat just feels really, it looks really unsettled, and you know, we haven't seen that earlier in the day. We're right beside American Magic at the moment, protecting that left-hand side. It's raining on the beaches of the North Shore, and so they're about to come into rain and more wind, and doing exactly the right thing, you know, protecting the left-hand side of this last upwind leg.
2, 1 more down.
Shirley, I hate to ask the obvious question. Is there any chance that this weather is going to prevent this race from finishing? Is there any erratic weather that's going to make a chance for Luna Rossa to get back into it?
Because I'm an expert meteorologist.
I'm just putting you on the spot. You're our eyes on the water. Any chance? You know, we're clinging at straws here to get Luna Rossa back into this race.
We're hard left in the camera boat now, and it's really quite strong, and it is further left. But I don't think it's anything like we saw earlier in the day. But expect a big change particularly on the downwind leg.
So Shirley was calling rain on the North Shore, but you look at the fans watching this on the big screens in the America's Cup Village. Well, actually, in come the raincoats, but they're loving it. American Magic looking hopefully for their first win. There are some Magic fans in the house. Yeah, we love it too. Don't you worry about that. Stay dry, though. Heading towards the top gate for the last time. 35 knots, American Magic. This will be a huge weight off the shoulders if they continue on and win this race.
Well, tactically, they're sailing well today as well. You know, a lot is being made of Terry's position on the boat and his position, and not only as a tactician, but as a grinder. But unfortunately, we can't hear him because his comms are down. But we've heard a lot from Paul Goodison, a lot from Andrew Campbell.
Sorry, just to interrupt, the elevated voices here. Hard bearaway coming up.
1 more down.
American Magic flying into that gate for the final time. And they were flying.
Squall here.
Whoa, hang on. Trouble in the middle. American Magic.
And they are over. You can hear the elevated voices going into that one.
No rush.
Wow.
Stand by tack. Stand by tack. Go tack. Tack. Tax. 1 more down.
Try and get some comms to see everyone's okay on board. Luna Rossa taking it, taking it easy here at the moment as well. Big puff must have come across the course.
Jimmy, the race is abandoned when one boat capsized. The point is
Let's keep
we keep sailing. Yes, yes.
Stand by bear away.
Yeah, easy mission. Easy bear away.
Okay, speed.
You can always drop the board after, so be generous on the
away. 3, 2, 1, bearing away. Easy, Chip.
Can we get anything else on this day?
Stay up.
Chase boats now getting to the attention of the American Magic crew.
I can't get it.
Should be fine, right in this
Easy traveler, you mentioned easy traveler, Jimmy.
Yeah, copy.
Easy traveler.
Well, that was a big capsize, wasn't it, boys?
You could see the foam off the water, so it's like, uh-oh, big squall, big squall. They felt it coming. That's why they tacked around that mark to try to tack around.
That's nice. Nice, because it's all good. We can stay there.
So Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli will continue on.
We counted all 11 people in the when we had a vision of the boat, so it looked like all people were accounted for, all 11 crew members.
So confirmation, all crew safe on American Magic. But my word, what the heck went on?
Okay, so what went on there is they were approaching the top mark and they got a big left shift, increase in pressure. And you could hear the elevated voices coming into that manoeuvre. They decided to attack into a barroway. That was the manoeuvre that Ben Ainslie was doing in the previous race. That's possible and it's fine to do in 16 knots of breeze, but if that pressure was above 20 knots, that's a tough manoeuvre, and you know, it's the end result is a capsize. It's a disaster for the team.
Just when you think they are going to get their first win in this PRADA Cup, quite simply disaster for American Magic, and it literally hands the win to Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli.
Luna Rossa just cruising here at the moment, making sure they don't tip it over as well.
On the right, yeah? But we've got to go through that gate anyway.
This is the umpires. USA has retired. USA has retired. The race is awarded to Italy.
Race is over.
So confirmation, Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli will get their second win of this PRADA Cup Challenger Series.
The finish line is this one, straight
Just when you thought you've seen it all, Stephen and Nathan, this we knew this was going to be crazy, but we had no idea what the definition of crazy really was, did we?
That quite simply is a heart-stopping moment. You are in supposed control of the race. You need this win for your team and your organisation. And then that happens. A capsize.
Wow, it's not good. Not good at all. And I'm sure we'll be having a replay here in a second to have a look at what actually happened.
So, American Magic, capsize and retire. And this is how it unfolded.
Okay, so I start seeing the bottom of the jib flapping there, and all of a sudden you see a little foam on the water, a little spray coming off the water. It's like, oh boy, this looks really windy right now all of a sudden. And see that spray blowing away really hard, really fast? But Nathan's look at everything's luffing, everything's flipping. Oh, the lured running backstay is still on. The lured running backstay stays on, and it's hooked up against the mainsail, and they can't let that mainsail out. The lured runner is still tight. The lured runner never got released.
No rush. It's tough time.
You see the main looks like it's pinned on, so it's hard up against that lured runner. The lured runner is the thing that keeps the rig in check, and the thing we keep talking about, Luna Rossa want to get rid of them.
It's dark water coming across right there. They're in pressure. Elevated noise on board. You could hear it in Dean's voice.
Turning down at 3.
You can hear it.
1, turning down now.
The lured runner looks like it didn't release, and oh my God, the boat turned sideways.
So essentially an inability to release pressure on the mainsail and say, pop, you're over.
Sure is what it looked like to me. Nathan and I both picked it up. The mainsail was kind of big curvature right around that shroud that goes towards the top of the mast.
But the big question I have is, as they're approaching that mark, the easier, safer maneuver would be to bear away and jibe. Instead, they did the hard maneuver, and I think I heard Paul Goodison say, this is going to be a difficult maneuver, guys. You know, the tack into a bear away. What you would do if you had a bit more time is attack, extend, and then bear away. Here we go, see them bring it up. So, once again,
It's going to be a hard maneuver. It's going to be a real hard maneuver to take barrel away. Standing by.
that's the voice of Paul
Goodison's trying to talk him out of it. He's trying to talk him out of it.
And it's out. 2, 1 more down. Turning. I'll stay here. 4 up. Turning down at 3. 2, 1. Turning down now.
the other thing was that Dean Barker stayed on the leeward side of the boat, so he's bearing away on the leeward side. He can't see how much pressure there is. He's not looking up at the main side to see it stuck on the runner. Had Dean been on the windward side next to Paul Goodison, he might have had a chance to see the wind was stronger than he thought. He might have seen the main on the runner, and he might have aborted that bail away.
Drama on the Waitemata Harbour to complete round robin number 2 and race 3, and the win goes to Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli after a capsize from American Magic. And Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli take their 2nd point in the PRADA Cup Challenger Series. I'm a little gobsmacked. We thought this was going to be dramatic racing, but not as dramatic as that.
You know, the debrief of this, Nathan, is always brutal, and there's a lot of questions that I have. You know, Goodison was clearly trying to rationally say, are you sure you want to do this? I'm going to interpret it. Are you sure you want to do this maneuver?
When someone's saying that's going to be a hard maneuver and they're shouting it, and then they're like, we're tacking. He's like, all right, I'll go to the other side, guys. And it's going to be a fly on the wall in that team debrief tonight. Man, tough day.
Okay, let's take a look at the standings of the PRADA Cup Challenger Series at the completion of round robin 2. But what a way to finish. And as you can see, INEOS Team UK maintain their perfect record. Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli have picked up a 2nd point on the back of American Magic's capsize, still searching for their 1st win. We move in towards next weekend. And you can see it will be on the Friday. INEOS Team UK against American Magic, and then it'll be Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli against INEOS Team UK. The one thing that we must remind you of what happened today, all the crew on American Magic are safe and accounted for. Safe and accounted for, but my goodness, if a team needed a whack on the jaw that they didn't want, they got one today.
Really unfortunate. Back to the drawing board. It's going to be a long 4 days, but you know what? On the bright side, they were going good today. So you got to take something out of this.
Exactly. Right up until that moment, those guys sailed well. They were fast. Tactics were great, and it's amazing how just one small error can trip you up. But tomorrow, another day. They're going to be debriefing this whole weekend, and they'll come back next weekend fighting.
So that is the scene at the end of the round robin phase number 2 in the PRADA Cup Challenger Series. A capsize from American Magic, denying them a 1st point as they finally get up. And boy, that is a marvelous thing to see.
You guys, they got water in that boat. That boat is really low in the water right now. There is a lot of water inside that boat. They're going to have pumps in there quickly. Something has gone badly wrong with Patriot.
Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli get their point. They win this race, and now there is a lot of work to be done fast for American Magic. What a day it has been. American Magic finished with a capsize, and INEOS Team UK finished the round robin series, still the only unbeaten team in the PRADA Cup. We'll see you next weekend.
Today's America's Cup Racing is brought to you by PRADA.